Welcome to Juicy Poo.
Does sound good. I haven't eaten yet.
The show where it's 2:30, by the way. Not AM, not yet for me. Maybe by the end of the podcast. 2:30 is the episode number, and just getting a late night feast, and you know how it is. You know, my food arrived, and it was like, I could eat this, or I could eat this on the podcast. I might as well eat it on the podcast. So here we go. It's a hot dog for those that were curious.
You got a glizzy. It's a glizzy gobbler. You know, like this is actually something I don't think we have ever publicly talked about, but like it is pretty crazy that we're like time coordinating between someone on the West Coast, someone in Europe, and someone in Australia. And very often, like in Harsh's case, for instance, we had people from the West Coast as well, and we have to all coordinate 4 time zones. And sometimes we do like time zone switches at different weeks. So you have to coordinate that Australia already switched, Europe didn't, but like America is not sure yet or some shit like that, you know? Like it's
still deciding. America's undecided, you know?
Yep.
So
it might, you know, they're thinking about their time zones might be overturned. I don't know. It's just something I heard this week. I don't know.
And this is I don't know.
And it's funny too because there are certain states that just don't like adhere to those as well. I believe Arizona is one of those states that's just like we don't do daylight savings time. Everybody else does, but
wait, really?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Arizona does not do. Maybe somebody in the comment section can correct me if I'm wrong. But
what do they do instead?
Nothing.
Okay.
They don't save their time; they spend it.
Is it just whenever like the fucking like chickens start like screaming in the morning? Like, is that the official call?
I genuinely do not know, but I like where their heads are at. I'll tell you that much because daylight savings time.
They're not wrong. They're not wrong.
Kick rocks.
Yes, for sure. Yeah,
can kick.
It's saving absolutely nobody.
No.
I've never been to Arizona. I can't confirm that it's a real place.
I hear it's nice.
As long as it has iced tea, I'm good.
Iced tea.
That's the only thing I know about Arizona.
Oh, that's true. That's true. I got some good news this week.
Oh, good news.
This episode, there's nothing for me to be angry about.
Oh, okay. So,
yeah.
Be all happy and good things.
Although,
good games.
I'm not going to lie, it makes me kind of angry that I'm not angry about something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel that.
You feel like a void.
I'm mad that I'm not mad. And that makes me mad.
Yeah.
Now you can be happy that you're mad.
Now that I'm mad, I'm also mad that I am mad at not being mad.
That's a cycle of madness that I don't know that I can even comprehend.
It is.
Welcome to Matt TV.
Put me in the straitjacket. That's what Australia is, just one big straitjacket, the entire continent.
That makes perfect sense.
Foam walls that we can't hurt ourselves on.
Gigantic moat around it.
That way we can only hurt ourselves mentally, which is why I'm so depressed. Physically, I'm fine, but mentally, it's a mess. It's a mess up there. 2:30. Wow. I still have a burger, by the way, so I'm going to find some stuff for you guys to talk about while I eat. 2:30. So, in case you were wondering, this is our second episode this week. This is our normal episode this week. We did I don't want to call it a special episode, but like an extra episode earlier in the week. You've probably already seen it by now, which is kind of discussing the beta and also an excuse for me to try and dunk on Donkey. This week, or rather this episode 2:30, is the preview episode of Overwatch League Season 5, Week 1, Day 1, the entire week, really, not just the first day, but the entire week's worth of games. Only NA, obviously no APAC for 2 weeks. We will be going through all the relevant matches, or rather I don't know why I said relevant, we're just going to go through all the matches, relevant, and some of them are relevant, but we're going to go through all the matches, no matter their relevancy, actually. And kind of give our thoughts on who we think is gonna win, maybe what the scoreline is, how this team is doing. Yiska's going to drop some more scrimbux, I'm sure, and he's got the juice on who's actually going to win these games based on scrims, and all of that kind of stuff.
I'll be shocked if this boy has more scrimbux than the stock exchange, than the crypto exchange is already posted.
It's always like a little bit of a struggle. I should like, you know, like it's like the entire off season I'm just talking to people, and then like I get the Scrimbux stock exchange out. And I think also people, to be fair, I think one of the reasons why people talk to me is because they think like it's valuable information. They want to sort of control the narrative around their team, and then they give me information.
So
and
every team says they're good.
check.
Every team comes to you says, "Oh, yeah, we're the best team. You know, we're not losing to anybody. We're the
No,
number one
like,
team."
I think the general idea is actually to keep expectations low. I think that's basically why people talk to me. I think a lot of people are usually lowballing and don't want to put pressure on their team. And then
you think?
I double check with other sources. I mean, there's definitely still a bunch of ego involved for sure, right? And but yeah, I think it's a weird one because they will tell you like, yeah, we're winning like 70% of the matches against Shock, but we're actually detritus. And it's like, okay, these are conflicting statements. Please elaborate. And then you go into like, or talk to other teams. That's actually how you get the juicy information of the team you want to find out about, is how that you ask other teams. I will say, like, for instance, I guess I can give a little bit of a background on this. I messed up before pretty badly in terms of giving out information, because some teams have like tried to hide strategies and have like scrimmed against certain opponents that they know are friendly with the team they're actually going to play, played a suboptimal strategy in order to surprise them. And because I have more holistic view on this, I then put into the Scrimbux Stock Exchange that they're playing XYZ player, which at the time heavily implied that someone was going to run a certain composition. And that kind of fucked their prep. Like, think about it. They go through the motion of trying to hide that strategy, and then I clumsily don't find out because the granularity of my information is not that, you know. I'm not like clued into every single scrim block and whatever feint strategy people are pulling. So I just tumble into it. So I generally like try to think through whatever information I'm giving out in terms of like who's playing and whatnot. Because like, let's say if I tell you Venom is playing consistently for the Rain, then this implies a strategy, right?
Correct.
So I should never do that, theoretically speaking, because it's given an unfair advantage that I can't make up for in other teams. So while I do still have like a ton of like little bit of player information, I omit all that I feel can reasonably give a competitive advantage to the opponent. So I sometimes, I will say, I think maybe I fucked up once or twice on the broadcast before here on TCP. I think fortunately, because metas were so delayed, I think teams didn't mind that much because things then eventually changed for those things to become irrelevant. But generally speaking, I don't want to talk about like who's being fielded and whatnot. I kind of want to talk about like which players are surprising and which players are good. Maybe not specifically for the reasons, unless they feel like ubiquitous, because like everyone has already told me about that. And then I assume that like if 5 people I talk to tell me the same thing about a player, I just assume the opponent knows now as well. And then I will put something in like proper as nuts on XYZ hero, right? If everyone is saying it, then I feel secure in that, sharing that. Did you finish your burger in time?
Good job, Yiska. I finished my food.
There you go. Glad to be of service.
Go on, Joe. You had something?
I think it makes a lot of sense, both from like an ethical standpoint. Obviously, you don't want to, shed too much information to give people an unfair advantage, and you don't want to burn any bridges. But it's kind of an interesting kind of look into how it's developed. I will say I was kind of disappointed that there weren't more like hidden gems. I didn't feel like I needed to read between the lines all that much. You just were very straightforward I didn't have to like do any like hex code deciphering or interpreting images like we used to. I'm just saying, Scrimbux Stock Exchange maybe it needs a little creative flair.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
what do you want? What do you want? Like a cipher in there that you have to decode? Like what?
Yeah,
what
I mean, I remember some of the OG
crossword, like
dude.
Yeah.
AVRL, you don't understand. One of the first ones I did for GG Recon, I intimated that someone that was in charge of keeping up with the multiple comms that were being run prior to season 3 wrote it in their own feces on the wall in order to keep track of it because they had lost their mind. There was too much to keep track of. And in the same image, I actually then made an image out of it, written in poop, like Diva, Rhine, blah, blah, blah. And then on the table, there was white substance next to a credit card. This is the initial framing of the stock exchange. And now it has mellowed out because everyone tells me I'm a stupid idiot and I should grow up. I'm in my mid-30s now, dude.
That seems boring.
I just watched The Batman recently.
Okay.
You know where I'm going with this. You know where I'm going with this. So I don't know, just put on a weird mask and
write
out some riddles on a birthday card or just a card.
Oh, so next one is an ARG?
Invent a language.
Is that what you're saying?
Huh?
Next one is a Sombra ARG?
Scrimbux ARG, yeah.
I think that could be done. I think if you need some assistance there, I think we could pull some minds. We can make some fun little projects.
I think we can do it for mid-season even. I think if there's a long break, well, let's see. Like I definitely wanted to create this. I guess this is a teaser. If I can muster it, if it makes sense, it always depends on the meta situation and whatnot. But I kind of want to do one. We have a 3 or 4 week break in the mid-season. I kind of want to do another row of Scrimbux. Maybe we can be a little bit creative.
For sure.
Okay. Well then.
Speaking of.
If we're ready to unleash the bucks upon the world, which you've already done, but I mean in more like a... Now we're going to put the skin in the game and do some preds and all that kind of stuff. For financial gain, of course, because, we're taking this straight to the betting table. Episode 230. Brought to you by Battlecrab, Refine Bean, Bronzebot Buhal, Chare, Commission Picasso, Chris R34444, Casher67, Lolshin, Porkchop Sammy, Rex Zane, Volamel, Smooth Nuts, and Your Misery. The official Week 1 preview episode. We don't normally do preview episodes, but first week of the whole season, you got to do one. Future episodes, man, can you imagine that from next week onwards, we're going to be back in season doing like normal episodes again, where we're just talking about the games, reviewing the week that just happened,
reclaiming sanity.
It's going to be nice.
Like, we're back into action. Things are actually normalizing again.
Yeah.
Can't believe it's been so long. I feel like I've actually served a prison sentence, and I've had, I'm finally getting out. Like, holy crap. Collecting, I got my orange jumpsuit on, collecting all my belongings, looking through. I'm like, oh yeah, look at this. So there's the camera I used last season. Oh, here's the lighting I used. Look at that. Just all my belongings I had to, check in on my way in when I got processed.
And then your shit gets delayed.
Yeah, so I have to walk 4 miles to the next bus stop. But it is what it is.
Yeah,
there's going to be a bus.
Is there any? There wasn't any other news, right? I think we have our maps. Control, Early Ghost Lijiang Oasis, Escort Circuit Royale, Dorado, Gibraltar, Route 66, Hybrid, Eichenwalder, Kings Road, Midtown, Push, New Queen Street, Coliseum. And the map order hasn't been released yet, but we can assume Control will be a big part of it. Although, who knows? Watch out. We'll see. We'll see what the map order... I mean, you'll find out. It won't take that long. We're days out now, so it won't take long to figure out what the deal is. I guess we can just... Shall we do it? Do we just get into the first game? I don't know why we're stalling.
Oh, yeah.
Why are we stalling? We're just going to get into it. North America. Oh, by the way, Wrecking Ball is disabled.
Oh.
Because he's got that game crashing bug.
Yeah.
So that's not going to be in the first week. Not that anyone was playing it anyway. It was not a very important hero. No one's playing ball anyway, so won't be messed. Special mention. On the first day, there is going to be Battle of Texas, and it will be live in San Antonio, Dallas versus Houston. And actually, ZP and Avast will be there live as well, casting. So that'd be pretty cool. Watch out for that.
Yeah.
But otherwise, normal, regular schedule. Sorry, that's not the first day. That's the second day, rather, not the first day.
Friday.
Yep.
So let's talk about the first day. I'll just go over the games. We have New York Gladiators as our opening match of the entire season. San Francisco versus Paris. Florida versus Atlanta. Following day, Boston, Vancouver. London, San Francisco Shock. And then live in San Antonio, the Battle for Texas, Dallas versus Houston. Day 3, Toronto versus Washington. Atlanta versus New York. Boston versus Gladiators. Day 4, this is 4 days. London versus Vancouver, Paris versus Florida, Washington versus Dallas, and Toronto versus Houston. That's a big boy day. There's 4 matches that day. So, yeah. And so 4 days worth of matches. 4 days worth of matches, and one of the days even has 4 matches on it. It's a monstrous first week, because every other week, it's only like 3 days, I think. You got 3 days worth of games. Wait, am I lying?
No, always. I think always the first week is of the stages for 4 days, and then the rest of the week.
It's the same for APAC as well. APAC's doing 3 days of 3 games, so it looks pretty even. Although I think there might be an extra day on the 4th week. Anyway, so there's going to be 4 weeks of the games and the kickoff clash to qualify into the regional tournament. So let's head into day 1. New York versus Los Angeles Gladiators. Now, Yiska, I know you're in love with New York. I know you love this roster. So, our opening match of the entire season. What is this? Is it just going to be a 3-0? What's going on here?
Look, okay. I feel like, like sometimes my content brain and my journalist brain collide. And I think the journalist brain should have looked at that situation a little bit more objectively and said, like, how can this suck? How is it possible for this to be bad? There have to be circumstances, because otherwise Flora, Yaki, Kellen are not going to have bad scrim results as they are told to me bad, right? So just from the outside, that Callan situation should have probably been like obvious to me, like that he had a visa issue and like had to fly out and in, and like he's back.
Is he back, by the way?
Yes, he is back.
Okay,
he is back.
And then that Vulcan signing once again is something to just be sure of that situation. So yeah, like I think this is, while usually I don't think teams change too much from their baseline that they had at the start of the season, and there were very few teams that ever really like switched it up 100%. I think because of the preparation of this New York lineup and how late they got here and everything like that, I think this is one of those teams that could start bad and then develop into a decent team over the season. At the same time, right now, given the complications that they apparently must have had from the outside, I think this must be like a clear 3-0, 3-1 type of situation. Gladiators
so
are too good.
No shot for New York, right? No shot, not even one map.
I mean, it would be a great morale boost. It would be a bummer for Glads. I think what will happen though, and what we will see over the season, is matchup games. Meaning, you will see bad teams shooting up ridiculously, like 2-3 tiers, just because they play well into a team. That is also something that comes from, or was like a learning from from looking at scrim results, where like you have a baseline of what everyone is charting at in terms of like average scrim win rate, and then they will have breakout scrim win rates that you wouldn't expect against different tiers, right? And I think New York is also a team that has like breakouts where they underperform against certain teams but overperform against others. And of course, they never really substantially, presumably, I have to say, scrimmed Glads extensively because they were playing stage 1. So I have no scrim data on this. But from the baseline level, I have to say, okay, this is a 3-1 probably.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the whole Kellen Vulcan thing is just messed up. Not the fact that Vulcan's joined the team, but the whole Kellen returning back to Korea, then coming back with whatever visa issue he's having, meaning they would have had to, if they were still scrimming during that time, which I imagine they were in New York that I'm talking about, yeah, they would have had to have used Vulcan at least a little bit. And now Kellen's back, and they have to kind of re-enter with Kellen. I don't know how easy it is for them to just pick up where they left off, but yeah, man, that on top of everything else surrounding New York with their kind of low stock for scrimbux, and then on top of no main support, I want because I'm about to do my own personal power ranking 1 to 20,
Right.
and New York is still such a contentious team for me because I want to believe Florian can just dominate. I want to believe that.
Sure.
Especially in like a Genji Soldier meta. I'm sure Flora jump on the Soldier, Yaki jump on the Genji. You'll get it done. It'll be cool, right? I just maybe versus another team. This should be a 3-0. I'm gonna say it should be 3-0 because if you're the Glads and you're coming out day one, Kefsa jumps on a Genji, Arns plays a Soldier, even with Flora and Yaki, there's no way because it's Kefsa Arns on those heroes, right? Yep. And I don't know, people. I'm not going to enter the whole discussion about the whole Arns Padapan thing again. I think that's a little overblown. I think Arns especially will be fine. I don't know what Padapan will do just yet because he shares a lot of hero pool with Kefsa, so likely Kefsa will just take up that position no matter what. You might not even see Paddy unless it's a double flex kind of meta, right? Whereas we have a perfect meta for a hit scan right now in the Soldier, so you should be seeing Arns. You have Funny Asher on the Lucio, goated. Shu on the Ana, goated. Perfect. Tanks are pretty flexible. Either Rhino or Space could play, but I'm hearing that a lot of off tanks are going to be playing the typical dive heroes. That's Doom is also a part of the off tank hero pool now. I say off tank like, I'm still using Overwatch 1 terms, but my point is you have an off tank and a main tank player on your team. The division of hero pool has been that most of the Doom players have been the off tank players. It's not always the case, but that has been usually the case. Now, I don't know for sure if that's how they've done it between Space and Rhino, but I wouldn't be surprised if Spaces pick that up as other off tanks have. The only time they would play Rhino is if they really want to do Winston, but even that's fine. I think it would be probably within Kellen's best interest to play towards Winston. That is his best hero. And even if I really rate Kellen, I don't know that I rate him enough in a matchup versus Space if we're talking off-tank type heroes. And versus Rhino, I'll probably have him over Rhino and the Winston, but I don't think I can bet against the Arns Kefsa duo right now. So if it's not a 3-0, I'd be very surprised.
Yeah, I would probably echo a lot of those similar points. The only things that I would probably push a little bit harder is the prevalence of Lucio. Again, I've been pretty much banging that drum for a little bit now that I do think, having a, outstanding Lucio player is going to net you a lot of benefit. But yeah, I think this is a 3-0 for Glads. I, again, echo a lot of those same question marks when it comes to coming in late, how much actual practice time have they had with Kellen? Obviously him going back and forth. But what I am looking forward to New York is, where, to kind of circle back to what Yiska was talking about, where their style is situated. Is it, are they more proficient in like the dive? Is there still this, Reinhardt, death ball contingent in NA? Can they play that? Like, is there, I'm looking for a litmus test for New York here, because you go into week 2, they have a little bit more, they have games that are a little bit more interesting. We'll get into those next week, obviously, but yeah, this is a tough one to start off your season. It's kind of a tough one to start the entire season off for your viewership, because I don't think this is going to be particularly close. Yeah, I have this 3-0 Glads.
It's a weird one to start the season with.
Yeah,
Just
not
have
my,
you just
my
have
favorite.
a stomp for the season. I don't know. I'm sure that's not what when they schedule. I'm sure that's not what they were thinking about
No, of
because you
course
don't know how good the teams are until the rosters start coming together.
exactly.
But
Just sucks that
usually
they
they start with like a battle for Texas kind of deal, don't they? Like, I
Yeah.
mean,
I would guess that was probably the plan, and then scheduling the live event, and probably didn't always line up. But I would have to imagine they probably tried to get some of these marquee matchups pretty early.
yeah. So marquee matchups. Do we have any on the first day? Because we finish a 3-0, but then we go to San Francisco versus Paris.
Yeah.
I mean, this is going to be any different. Even if you really trust in Paris, are they going to be good enough to beat the San Francisco Shock with potentially the Rookie of the Year?
Yeah.
Not even candidate, just simply the Rookie of the Year proper on the team. Been hearing good stuff about Kilo as well. Finn's amazing on Anna. Violet Lucio is, I think, the meme that everyone will latch onto.
Yeah.
But my opinion is that Violet Lucio is not going to be as awful as everyone says.
No.
He's had enough time. As long as he's not a detriment, I think it'll be cool. You'll be okay. You just need to support proper 4 people, 4 protect 1 year. He's going to be your raid boss. Give him all the resources and let him carry on Genji. If you can do that, you're going to be fine.
Yep.
Kaluj, as long as they're not in like a main tank kind of meta, I don't think so. Shock, unlikely to play anything Ryan related, and probably unlikely to play even Winston related comps. Most likely they'll stick to the Doom, stick to the Zarya, stick to the Diva, stick to the Sigma as well. They'll be good on the escort maps. Sigma definitely getting playtime on the escort maps. So, is there any belief in Paris at all? First of all, do any of you think Paris can win this? And then if you do, if you do, explain if you don't think they're going to win, what are they going to get? Are they going to get anything? Because I'm looking at this as another 3-0 to me.
I have to put my shoulder up with AVRL here. I do think this is going to be a 3-0 for the Shock. I don't see too much in the way of Paris squeaking in here. It's interesting to hear that Sigma's seeing a lot of playtime on escort. That may skew things, but it's tough to argue against the Shock right now.
I don't know if it's he's seeing a lot of playtime on escort so much as that's the only game mode that he can see playtime.
Sure, that's right.
If there is one.
Yeah. I would expect Shock to come in kind of shallow. I think Kaluj is going to do fine. But I do think that, and this is going to be repeated quite a lot, this is going to be a team that's led, and a lot of the success is going to be born and bred from that DPS lineup, as you said, AVRL. And yeah, it's tough to argue when you look at the caliber versus Paris. I do think Paris has promising results in the coming weeks, but the Shock's a tough day at the office.
So what was your score line? Do you get the 3-0?
I have this 3-0 Shock, yeah.
Any naysaying, Yiska? Any doubt?
I feel like there's
Any
a
belief
little
in Paris.
There's a
You're
little
a Paris
magic
believer,
here.
I know you are.
Yeah, there's a little magic here, I think. But
Okay.
like there's a lot of like green leaves in this Shock lineup, right? Like which has me like, okay. Do I trust this? But generally speaking, like in terms of sheer quality, like this is I wouldn't be opposed to the possibility that Paris is going to win a map.
Sure.
I wonder like how solidified the strategies, especially on push are, and if there's more room for interpretation or like volatility. But yeah, generally speaking.
Like, you think Paris have a secret? You think they have some secret strats? What do you mean?
No, more like
Max Cookbook. Who knows?
Like if
Max cooking up.
More like if everyone has a playbook on how every other game mode is played, then you have a more solid prior as to the stronger team winning, while that is necessary. I think generally speaking, push. It will be interesting to see if it's a solid game mode. You know, like how we used to say, like, oh, it's just 2 CP guys. By the way, never really made too much sense, but how the game mode is very different from others, and like didn't really necessarily, you know.
Yeah.
Do you want a spoiler? Hey, it's just push, guys. Is what it is. It's just push.
That's fine. That just decided the series. It's 3-1 now, but it's just push, guys.
Let me put it this way. Never in the history of Overwatch or the Overwatch League or any form or form of Overwatch or fashion of Overwatch in general has there ever been a game mode where first fight win matters more.
Sure. Yeah.
Let me put that out there into the ether right now. In push, first fight win matters more than any other game mode ever created. Not by a little bit, by a monumental amount. Monumental.
It's effectively just like snowball the game mode, right? Like you just take that lead and you just
snowballing. It's how easy it is to keep the snowball after you achieve the snowball.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Once you've snowballed, if you have snowballed, your ability to keep that snowball lead going for the entire duration of the game is insane on push. So if there is a world where we rock, and this could be anything, this could be New York versus Glads, could be Shock versus Paris. If any of the underdog teams on push roll up and they, I don't know, get an RNG kill, maybe get lucky, or someone on the other team makes a mistake, you got a +1. You're not bad, and you can roll that +1 into a more serious advantage, and you win the first fight. There's a good shot that they can maybe squeeze the map. It depends, but here's the other problem. Here's the other thing is, to me, it's still not like, oh, you win first fight, you instantly win the map. It's not as, I'm making it sound extreme. It's not as extreme as that, because the better team, even if they fail the first fight, they can still come back, maybe win that second fight, and get their shit together. You'd still have to lose 2 to 3 fights in a row to get snowballed.
Yeah.
If you lose like 3 fights in a row on push, I think you're done. I think at that stage, there's still like 5 minutes left, but you can just call the map. Yeah. You can literally call the map. Like you can't afford to lose 3 fights in a row. You can lose 2, and then you must win that third fight, or you might as well GG out. Just quit. Like the rest of the 5 minutes on the map is a total waste of time. So you still have to lose a lot to get snowballed.
Isn't it just like a 3-prong issue that, like, you start out, you win the first fight, the objective time, like, you're now far ahead. You're ahead in the old economy. And most of the time, the map geometry also lets you set up on high ground, so you're advantaged anyway. Or choose the battle where it's taking place, right?
Actually, the defenders, the losing team, has better positioning on both the push maps, because both the push maps, the high ground seriously favors the defending team or the losing team.
Okay.
So actually, the attacking team can't quite get favorable high ground off the top, which is actually probably a good thing, because it allows the losing team to have the ability to win that second or third fight. Anything is good. But what you're actually more likely to see, I'm actually turning things. This is a little convoluted, guys. I'm sorry for dragging us through this broken glass right now of a description. What I'm trying to say is there is a possibility for an underdog team to maybe get some shit going on push, but the opposite is also extremely true. In fact, the opposite is probably more likely, which is that the expected winning team is just going to win the initial fight and then dominate the next 2 fights in a row, and maybe even another fight to 4 in a row. But then the map is too hard to finish. So even if you're the dominant team, unless you're like way fucking better than the other team, and I don't know that there's going to be too many of those matches. We're not looking at Shanghai versus Valiant yet, just guys. I mean, Paris aren't the worst team. They're okay. They'll put up a fight. They'll be reasonable. Shock isn't Shanghai fucking Dragons. Shock is a top team, but not the best team. So what's going to happen is Shock plays Paris on a push map. They'll win 3 to 4 fights in a row. They'll get like 100 meters, 110 meters. And then the next 5 minutes after that, because they'll eventually lose because of the spawn differences and the advantages once you get deep enough into the enemy base, right? Eventually lose. 3 minutes are gone. You will spend the next 5 minutes being waterboarded with San Francisco Shock, just like kind of winning, but not really, because they can't finish the map. And you're going to just see them kind of you know, they're sort of winning. They might lose a little bit. The push bot will go back a little bit. People that don't understand how push works be like, oh, Paris have a chance. They don't. And then Shock inevitably win another fight once Paris decide to push a little bit in their territory. And we're just watching this timer go down. And you know 3 minutes into the game, it's actually over and Shock have already won. But you're sitting there with a wet towel on your face, water being poured on your face for 5 minutes, like, fucking end me. Can Shock just win or like what? Well, they can't because they can't finish the map because it's hard. But Paris also can't do anything either. So you're just sitting there for 5 minutes where nothing is happening.
Yeah.
And then the Shock eventually win when the 8 minute timer hits. And that's push in a nutshell. So get ready. That's what's going to happen. It'd be really funny if that exact description came true exactly to the T of like perfectly as I've described it on match day.
Yeah.
That would be so funny.
Yeah, it's really weird. I think you pointed out this out, by the way, already. Like, the incentive to really try to finish the map is so little, man. Like, it's almost like you basically want to play like 2 CP end zone stall. Like, for like, get ready. People are going to pick Wrecking Ball and just like fucking disrupt that shit when it gets to 2 minutes.
Oh, they can't.
They can't pick
Right,
Wrecking Ball.
True. Yeah. But like,
But they would.
Winston or,
Yeah. The only thing I feel like is, at least in my kind of heuristics for push, the one thing that I am looking at is to see how like aggressive teams tend to look at this map. I think a team like, let's say in Atlanta, a team like that has like very clear calling that like manages their pre-fight really well. I'm looking at like Atlanta, Dallas, maybe even a little New York if they can get behind Yaki. Like, I'm looking at these teams just to see if they can just throw themselves into certain like disadvantageous fights, whether it be, pushing the bot in like trying to make up space once you get control, maybe even like fighting into high ground. I have a funny feeling that like the way that these maps are designed to, allow for some more flanks, I think these more aggressively minded teams, the teams with a little bit more direct calling, will potentially have an advantage. Whereas like a team like San Francisco, who's like Yiska said, a little bit more green, still trying to figure out how, or if Violet's still calling, I would imagine he is, where everybody is on the same page. I'm looking for these aggressive and cohesive teams probably have an edge most likely, and that's maybe where some of those stylistic differences come that Yiska kind of hinted at, but I'm not sure. I'm very interested to see how this plays.
So what's your scoreline? What do you think is going to happen?
I have this 3-0 Shock.
Did Yiska give a scoreline yet?
No.
I'm going 3-1.
Do
you think Paris will get one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because J-Mac's been in the lab, he's got something cooking or what?
Glista is going to hit one lucky one on push, and it's that's the one.
He's got to hit more than one lucky one. He's got to hit about 2 to 3 lucky ones in a row.
Ah, you can do that.
And Proper has to get unlucky about
it's
2
on
to 3
Proper.
times in a row.
The first one, lucky one, is on Proper. It's over.
I got. So Glista's going to play Hanzo, and
just
Proper's just like he's just double jumping, just doing normal Gengu stuff.
Yeah.
And then boom, just log headshot just finds him.
Yeah.
That's the fight over.
It's actually the one
that happens 3 more times.
It's actually supposed to hit Kilo, but like Proper just like is in the middle of it, mid dash, get fucked.
Then Proper yells at Kilo like, you fucking got me killed.
And that's the map.
Yeah. And then the Shock internally implode because they're having a fight with each other. Everybody's just having a big fight. They're in a big brawl.
Yep.
That's when you bring the brawl from in game to out of game.
True.
The Ryans go at it out of game. I'm fucking around, obviously. But also, am I? I don't know. Shock. Who knows? No, I think it's a 3-0. I think they're too good for Paris to get anything in there. I'd be surprised. I think Paris have a decent lineup, generally speaking. I think their back line in particular is really strong, especially in a meta like this. Khan, Anna, plus Dritro, Lucio should be decent. But everything on the Shock is just stronger. Maybe not so much the Violet Lucio, but everything else is certainly, in my opinion, stronger. So there's just so much more going on for the Shock that I don't see them losing. I think Overwatch 2 is a game where individual diff matters so much.
Mm-hmm.
You're just if you simply have players that can diff other players on the other team, it matters way more than it matters in Overwatch 1, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So if your player quality is just better, then you should just win most of the times. If you click the head better, you win. Okay. So kind of a little bit split on the Paris. I think did you give a map to New York? You did, Yiska. You are such a generous person.
Dude,
you were giving a map to New York.
it's-
You're giving a map to Paris. Next, you're going to tell me Florida's going to beat Atlanta.
It's one of the worst things I do in predicting. It's like also it kind of ruined my June Joust run last year. Is I don't predict clean sweeps enough. I always feel like Overwatch is so random. You can always win a map, pop off once or two.
Is it
Twice.
random?
Yeah, it feels pretty random.
How's it random? What is the random? What?
I mean,
Where is the random?
I don't know. Like the first fights are super important, and they just happen. But probably
I don't
not
think-
as much.
Hang on. I don't think first fights in other game modes not called push are as insane because I see way too many times on Control, on Koth, you lose the first fight, you might even get snowballed 0.99 and then you make the 199 comeback anyway.
Yeah.
Too many times I've seen that. Which, by the way, can't happen in push. So the equivalent of an 0.99 in push would be like, I don't know, 99 meters of cart push. If a team reaches 99 meters, just go and sit down and read a book for 5 minutes because you know the result already. It's actually not possible for the other team to come back from. Don't worry about it. You know the result.
But yeah, that's something that teams have expressed to me, that the game now feels more random because like beforehand you could just like keep people from like entering sidelines that are ever dangerous. But if you got like literally every hit scan in the league is now capable of having a pop off day where they just can take over a game.
Yep.
That's not random. That's skill. What do you mean? How's that random?
I mean, yeah. Okay, now we're getting into the
Random would be rolling a dice. You know, your fate is not in your hands. Random. You know.
Yeah.
You're playing roulettes. Like that's random. Like what do you?
But like sometimes, you know, maybe the intentional stuff doesn't happen, but there's something lucky that happens that usually doesn't happen, or I realize there's some. I've also been criticized, or like others have told me they don't think it's random, but like I don't know, the nature of how this happens is like not deterministic. It's like not. It's hard to explain, but like,
is it fair to say that it's high variance?
Yeah, I think that's also very.
I don't-
It's more high variance. I think we're generally going to see more upsets and more like less 3-0s than last season.
Okay.
If somebody overperforms and the other person on the other team underperforms, then yes, but I don't see that as being different from Overwatch 1. Because that's like any game, any esport, any situation. That can always
Well,
happen to anybody.
Agreed.
Yes.
Would you say that there's more of an opportunity for that to happen now in Overwatch 2 than it was for Overwatch 1?
It doesn't feel like it to me. I don't
Okay.
feel that to be the case personally.
Or the fair?
Look, if it is, then like I'm looking at the players, like what's going on there? Why are they having
Yeah.
hot and cold days? Like,
Yep.
are they not warming up enough? You know, is the aircon 1 degree off? Are they using the wrong mouse pad? Do they change the sensitivity? What are they doing?
The thing is, like, if
Is
you look
the,
at CS, right? Sometimes there are in-game leaders that are actual detritus aimers, and they will have a pop-off day and look like fucking, I don't know,
Sure.
Zaiwu for like a match. That's just like within the physiology of the human body is just like complete ability to get in sync, and then you will never get it back. It's like temporary magic. And it's very hard for me to say, yeah, okay, this is not random.
Sure. Now to add some barriers to this, to add some fencing. A, not CS. B, it's one player, right? Like You're looking for one player that has that magical capability to be able to step up if the situation's the right way, right? I know what you're saying, and I would tend to agree for the most part, but I would like to see some evidence of that,
I feel like, for instance, like people would also already claim like a certain randomness in prior Widow metas, where it's just like, oh yeah, this fucker just got like a lucky angle. Like, he the timing on that angle was unreal. I mean, it's not arguments like practice or rehearsed.
Some of it is. Some of it you try to. I think the most of it that I've at least heard argued is that you try to rehearse clearing as many angles as it's feasible, but there are those moments where you just hook shot over, get a headshot, and the fight's over. Like there's not much you can feasibly like counterplay into that.
I just don't think that's random. I think that's good skill on the part of the person doing that.
Agreed.
To me. So I'm happy to move past this though. This is devolving a little bit.
Yeah. I get your point.
So yeah. Florida, Atlanta.
Yes.
I feel like Atlanta should win, but this one I don't think is going to be 3-0. I don't feel the 3-0 here because first of all, is Exy, he's not in Florida yet, right? There's no way because he's announced really late, so I don't think he's in Florida. But Jet is in Florida.
I'm going to look. I do not believe so.
I don't think Exy's there yet. So you're not going to get the Exy. You don't have the Exy soldier. You're going to have to deal with, I don't know how good Hydron soldier is. Checkmate will be playing Genji. Apparently someone can just play all of it, so fucking he's just a god. Either Kariv or Majid can play the Ana. Kariv is very well known for his Ana, so I wouldn't be surprised if Kariv maybe just plays it. Kariv probably spent more time scrimming with the team recently as well. Is he physically in Florida, Kariv?
I don't know.
Because if he is,
I'm not sure.
Okay, that actually changes things. Because if Majid is there physically, then he'll play. If Kariv is there physically, he probably plays, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So Florida is still kind of gathering pieces by what it sounds like. Even if they had everybody, I'm not entirely sure that Florida beats Atlanta right now. No. Kai can play Soldier. I don't know how much I will trust the Nero Genji, personally.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, between Hawk and Gator, they'll be okay. Hawk can just play most of the things right now.
Yeah.
OG Ultraviolet on Lucio Ana, they're going to be great. That's going to be a fantastic duo.
Yep.
So, on a player quality level, I think Atlanta's just got it locked down. Even if maybe Checkmate's Genji could be better than Nero's. Maybe I'm underrating Nero a little bit here. Even if that is the case, that's still not enough to get Florida over the line. In my opinion, like someone, the tank play would have to be so fucking good. He would have to be like ruining Hawk in this heads up, in my opinion, for them to like actually beat Atlanta. So apparently Kariv is physically in Florida. Now, a couple of reasons why I think Kariv might play. One, and this is not a leak. I haven't seen any Mayhem scrims in a long ass time now. One, Kariv is well known for his Ana. Two, Majid has been stuck in Saudi Arabia, which means in scrims, you're going to favor the person that's actually with you. They can play on low ping. And you're at this stage for week one, you're probably unlikely to change to Majid when you've been scrimming with Kariv for however long Kariv's been in Florida. So, which is probably a good thing. I don't know. If part of me thinks Kariv is probably going to be better than Majid on that era anyway, so it'll probably be fine. Unless Kariv is like underperforming heavily, but I don't know. I want to believe that the Kariv Ana, that reputation is still there for him. So I'll say Atlanta 3-1. I will give Florida the one.
Ditto. Yeah, that's exactly how I've got it. I have Atlanta 3-1. I'm giving Florida a map. I'll say it's probably either. Granted, we don't know how the maps fall, but I would probably guess it's probably one of the more historically volatile. Like I'm looking at Control, maybe getting the win early, taking a first fight and running it with push, something like that. I'm interested to see what Florida looks like. This is another kind of like litmus test matchup where we kind of have, I think we all agree the eye test when it comes to Atlanta. They have a great roster on paper. Things from the stock exchange sound very, positive when it comes to Atlanta. Florida, on the other hand, I think people are still hesitant to buy into any kind of stonks or crypto or NFTs that Yiska may be peddling. So I am interested to see what. Yeah, you're peddling them. You've got your trench coat. You're like, hey, look at my watches. Hey, look at these pocket knives. It's some back alley stuff. I don't know.
Why are you naked under this trench coat? Right?
Exactly. So yeah, I'm interested to see what Florida looks like. I look at them as like a team that's very early to metas. So I'm interested to see like at the end of the week how their compositions maybe differ from other people's. But yeah, I'll give them a map. I think they're of the caliber for a map.
Oh, Yiska, you're a known map giver.
Yeah, I'm a map giver, man. Fuck.
How many maps will you give?
No, the thing is, look, I'm not going to shit on Atlanta specifically here, because I think there are definitely a lot of teams this season that have a tendency to like crumble when they fuck up. But man, this team has the ability to just like sometimes just fucking start trolling scrims.
However, they're not trolling matches.
No, they're not trolling.
They'll troll scrims, but they're not gonna walk up into an official match and be like, oh, what if we just lost?
Would I feel better if they didn't troll scrims? Yeah. Because that would demonstrate, a certain level of maturity of a person. But I think that it's not a problem here. I think I'm a map giver. I give him out. I'm map Robin Hood. I'm going 3-1 Atlanta again.
You really are. Yeah. You're giving everybody one map.
Yeah. No.
You're like the Oprah Winfrey of map giving.
Everybody
gets a map.
Yeah.
Everyone gets a map from you.
Yeah.
I will say when it comes to Atlanta, well, I mean, I think you mentioned your June Joust performance. I think you're trying to get in some of those correct predictions on the map scores. I would actually fight you on the Atlanta point. I think what makes Atlanta good is their loose, like very cavalier way of playing the game. I think that keeps them fiery, let's say. I think if you change like the structure or like the culture of that team to be like hyper like strict, I don't think you get as much out of those players.
No,
I think
that's fine.
They're the type to be loose.
Yeah, no. I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying there's a certain risk vector for me.
Oh, for sure.
And then by far not like, I'll straight up tell you that same risk factor exists for San Francisco Shock this year. Mm-hmm. It's not a secret that some of those boys can get spicy.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Oh, yeah, okay. So here's actually one extra thing. I would be a little bit annoyed if after this Florida-Atlanta game, people are like, oh, all these Florida scrimbux, huh?
I mean, you know they're coming.
People thought Florida were good. It's like, bro, they played Atlanta. I mean, come on. Atlanta one of the top teams.
It's the top 4 team, man. Come on.
I mean, and this is like globally. Like you put Atlanta and APAC, they're probably still going to do good. Yeah. Like Florida, as much as yes, the stonks are high. Come on now, let's be reasonable.
People are gonna use Florida losing to Atlanta as evidence that the stonks were bad. I don't know. We'll see.
But
wait till Florida play Paris and Vancouver. You'll see. Yeah. And honestly, even Houston, that's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah. Agreed.
By the way, like
day 2. Yeah, go on.
Like I had a Reddit run-in, and I'm not going to dunk overly on this because you
of course you did.
But like it was like daily. It was like okay. To be fair, the person was reacting towards Avast saying Hawk is going to be league MVP this year. Now I have a high opinion of Hawk because in my mind, just like 0 role stars, only rookie of the year. It's Pelican just carried them to a top 3 finish of the team of the year last year and like a finals performance, right? Was just Pelican. I mean, nobody else got a role star, right? And then that person said Hawk is overrated. And I popped the gasket at that because like, how can anyone on Atlanta other than Pelican be overrated? By definition, if you have a top 3 team in the world and there's 0 role stars on their team, it is virtually impossible for anyone to be overrated at that point. So, yeah, no, I think this is a really solid team.
I feel like people people must. I'm trying to like rationalize in my mind how they arrive at these conclusions. I feel like people must compare the Atlanta run last year to Seoul's run the year before.
Yes.
Right? Because in their minds, like, oh, Seoul got lucky with the meta. They, the gesture Roadhog, they got lucky.
Yeah,
Seoul
there was something pointed out. They got lucky with the meta.
And then they think the same thing happened to Atlanta.
No.
Except it was a fucking dive Sombra meta, which Atlanta can't play at all.
Yeah.
So that excuse doesn't work. Atlanta clearly didn't get lucky with the meta. And in fact, the exact opposite happened.
Only sturdy Ryan abusers are cheesers.
Then what? Except everyone in fucking NA was playing that anyway, including Shock.
Yeah, and they only missed Hawaii once, bro. Like, come on.
Yeah.
And it's you can't use the excuse like, oh, they sucked in the regular season, they got lucky in playoffs. They fucking made Hawaii 3 times.
Yeah.
Come on. So I don't know. There's nothing to back up. There's nothing.
No.
I feel like there's just no evidence. There's no evidence to say that Atlanta are an overrated team. I just don't see it.
It must be like. I think, yes, we generally have a problem of ranking the players on the Atlanta reign accurately. I think there's also a little bit of like nobody wants to give them their credit, but it's like, come on, man, like you can't have that season with only like average players.
Agreed.
It is even if everyone was just above average and a Pelican was a monster, you still don't get that. Someone else has to be good on this team, bro.
And you can't beat Dallas Field in a full best of 5.
Agreed.
In the lower bracket final to decide who the fuck gets to go into the grand final.
Yeah.
You don't beat Dallas Field in that best of 5 by being an average team.
No.
Or by being an overrated team. Because everyone will tell you that Dallas Field was one of the top teams. And so how in the fuck could a overrated average team beat one of the top teams like that? In I'm not going to say convincingly, but definitely, at least in my mind, there's no doubt. There's no doubt like, oh, Atlanta got lucky. So no, they literally just beat them. They were the better team in the brawl, and also, you know what? Gator even brought up the ball to be funny, and that ended up being okay. You know, not groundbreaking, but ended up being okay. So you back to this opening week, you kind of have this interesting perfect storm of people both underrating both teams. Actually, they're heavily underrating Florida because they think they're a Garbo team. That's a lot of the public sentiment. They're also heavily underrating the Reign because they just don't like the Reign, and there's nothing the Reign can do to prove that they're a good team. The Reign could literally win the entire season and be the champions, and people will still rank them mid-tier, you know. And with both those things combined, they will say that, well, you know, Florida lost to a shit team, so they're clearly bad. Like that'll be the conclusion people make.
Well, we jam Toronto in top 5. Hell yeah, let's go. Poggers.
So, Boston, Vancouver.
Here we go.
Is it crazy that I don't know that this one is entirely clear?
No, this one's spicy. This one could get messy.
I still think Boston win it.
Yeah.
I think that's as clear as I feel. Is like I feel like Boston wins.
But I don't know that they win comfortably.
No.
Because of a couple reasons. One, other reports of Boston being a little bit slow at the moment in scrims. However, as Yiska has mentioned this stock exchange, it is a perfect meta for Boston. I expect that Boston should be the better team. It's hard to quantify the amount of drop spaghetti on either team, because once you add that into the equation, I don't know what would happen. And Boston have dropped spaghetti in the past because they literally gave Vancouver their first and only Overwatch League win in the last season.
And a sweep.
And to be honest, though, there is some redemption here for Boston. I'm kind of glad they play Vancouver first because Vancouver was that demon team for them last year, right? And so I'm sure Boston would love to get the revenge on Vancouver and just put them down nice and early, assert their dominance in the league nice and early against the team that they lost to last year in a bit of a meme fashion. When you compare the two rosters, assuming no major spaghetti dropping, and by the way, if anyone wants to say like, yeah, well, Boston will drop spaghetti, I mean, you got to apply the same thing to Vancouver. I don't think you can just allow them to not have that on their plate as well. So Boston, Valentine, Genji, Poggers. You have Striker, Soldier. That's a pretty Poggers as well. 3 tanks to choose from. One of them will get it right, surely.
Yep.
Faith Lucio, nice.
Very nice.
And either MCD or Crims or Anna, they're both good at it. They're both good at that hero. So to me, they tick all the boxes of the current meta.
Mm-hmm.
They should be good in this current meta. There should be no excuses for Boston. The only reason they don't win, or the only reason they screw up, is again some droppage of spaghetti will happen. That to me is the only way they don't win this. Whereas on the Vancouver side, Yiska has had some choice words to say about False in the past. I don't know enough about False, but I can trust Yiska here. I think Aspire Shockwave are good, but one of them is not going to play because Psycho has to come in to play the Genji, right? And then you have their backline where Master on the Lucio will be brilliant. That's going to be really nice.
Mm-hmm.
In theory, Aztec on Ana should be good because I know what his history on Ana has been. I know he's really good at this hero, but he's just had a weird prior season. Haven't seen him for a while. I don't know where he's at right now. He has the potential to be really good. So there's I don't know where to rate Psycho on that Genji. I don't know where to rate False at the moment. I do know where to put Valentine, and I do know where to put either the three. I know where all the three tanks of Boston could go. I think this will be Boston favorite. I'm even tempted to go 3-2 here, but
I feel you. I know. I'm right there with you.
we flip a coin.
Oh,
Coin flip.
older man than I.
I will do heads 3-2 Boston, tails 3-1 Boston. Because I can't decide.
Yeah.
Heads 3-2 Boston is going to be my scoreline.
Okay. Yeah, I'm much in a lot of those similar conversations. I'm right there with AVRL. I think this is going to be a close 3-1 for me. I look at all the possibilities that Boston can bring out. Yes, do I think that Genji is going to be very strong? 100%. Do I think Soldier is nearly a must play? I'm believing so, but I'm very interested to see how certain maps play out. If we will see a Tracer, if we will see a Sombra, I think that one's a little bit more on the fence for me. Even with those additional compositions thrown out there, I have to give this to Boston. I have to rely on the stock exchange here when it comes to False and his rectangle front wheel that Yiska just so lovingly described him as during our Vancouver Titans team preview. This one's gonna be a mess. I do think that Titans are gonna look. You're gonna start to see what we've been talking about with this DPS lineup. I think you're gonna start to see some good things. I am interested to see what Psycho looks like. But yeah, I think it's gonna be closer than people may expect. But there again, I've seen some power rankings that have Boston pretty low, so we'll see. We'll see.
She's back.
Yiska's a Shockwave believer.
I am. Fuck.
You're both a Shockwave believer and a map giver.
Yes.
Yiska,
So
have
with-
you
with-
thought
with
about
your
any
powers
of these games prior to this, or are you just doing this on the fly? I have to ask.
I'm feeling it. I mean, it's written in the ether, and I just have to read it out. So.
That sounds like a line out of my playbook, good sir.
So I think this is a 3-1 Boston.
Oh,
Let's see if I can get through this while only predicting 3-1s. But
Yeah, all of your scores are 3-1 so far.
I mean, this is a
These are just
different
map handers.
quality of 3-1. You know, this is a solid 3-1 that where randomness isn't accounted for.
The mouthfeel.
Yes, there's no ripples in the ether. It's crystal clear. It's completely manifested. It's a 3-1, no questions asked.
Okay.
why is it no questions asked? Why is this different to?
Well, because otherwise I would have to say 3-2.
Oh, right. I see what you're doing. Okay.
Right. It feels like a 3-1. I don't want to account for volatility. I just assume the universe is just. And then I just say 3-1 Boston because that's how, in my mind, the power level between these two teams shake out.
Fair play.
Right. London, San Francisco shock.
Oh boy.
Any Londonius believers in the chat?
Okay, map Robin Hood. Sell me on whatever map you're giving.
Hell no!
Because
Hell no! Hell no! I wasn't prepared for this. This is not the. Yeah, no. Hell no. Now, if
Even the most
I
generous man in the room can't give out a map for this one, huh?
if I had access to the footage of whatever the first San Francisco Shock match looked like, I would be more confident. I would definitely pivot, and this is one of those ones where you don't hand in your match prediction until you've seen the first match. But yeah, I think this is a 3-0. Unfortunately, this is. I mean, you can think like London is not going to be as bad as it was last season. They are now in a I think generally speaking, like this is probably not going to be a team that's going to lag as much as they did last year. But man, come on, this is Proper feels like it's a different level of human being than the bottom half of the table. So I think that's pretty.
He's the Terminator.
Yeah.
He's Arnold Schwarzenegger rocking up in that first movie or the second one. Teleports in completely naked, just bursting with muscles. Walks into the biker bar. Says, "Give me your clothes and your bike." And then London are like, fuck, I guess we have to.
It didn't take long for AVRL to come up with new Overwatch 2 pawn, by the way. That was very quick. Is that what you do? Is that how you determine your choice of MVP for the season? You just imagine them in Terminator?
If I wasn't an Overwatch caster or just a caster, or if I wasn't in esports, I think I'd most likely be a porn director. Maybe.
Oh yeah. Fire up the old Wattpad, write some proper fanfic. Here for it.
Yeah. So no, I can't give London any maps here. I don't think I can.
Yeah.
And it's not even just a proper factor, it's like everything. I mean, I even wow, this is gonna sound bad. I don't
Ooh.
This is not fair on Admiral at all. But I don't even think the Violet Lucio is gonna be gonna be enough. Do you know what I mean? Like
that would be the only hopium that I would give London, is that like you have a dedicated Lucio player.
The only hopium is like, bro, you better hope Admiral is better than Violet. Yeah. But even then, I don't know. This is gonna sound bad. I don't know that he is. I don't know that he is, and I don't know that would help enough.
Sure. Because
every other position is hard diffed.
Yes, and like I agree with what you said previously. Like this is a game that is going to require a lot of individual impact, and if you just cannot meet the caliber that the Shock is providing, I don't care how much or how many mice they're thrown at each other. I look at Proper, I look at Backbone, seems pretty clear. I look at Kilo, I look at Shax. As much as I look at like Shax and Sparker, Kilo's a little bit saucy. This whole thing is like green lights for San Francisco. I don't know how you can give London a map.
And here's another thing. I remember when we did the London preview, everyone was like, "Oh man, the amount of disrespect on Shax." Let me tell you something about Shax. He's a Tracer player. We're not in a Tracer meta. Yeah. We are not in a Tracer meta. No one is going to be playing Tracer. Not yet. Maybe not for the whole season, depending on how things go.
Yeah.
So unless Shax has another S-tier hero in his back pocket, no, I haven't really talked about Shax. I don't know that I will at this point, because he's got to have something else in the back pocket that's insane. Maybe his Soldier's really good. Does Sparker play Soldier though? Because if Sparker plays, he's probably going to be playing.
I would guess it's Backbone Sparker. I think Shax has some like mid to long range hit scan that is good. Like I would look at his Widow, I'd look at his Ashe as like potentials, but like outside of that, I'd still look at maybe Sparker as like the safer pick.
Haven't seen Backbone's Genji.
Yeah,
won't be as good as Proper's Genji.
No,
that's nothing against Backbone, because most players, people not named Sparkle are not going to be as good as Proper on the Genji.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
So, yeah, maybe Pelican as well, but
true.
Yeah, it's too much. It's too much. Maybe the one way that London can beat the Shock here is they have to attack them outside the game. Like mentally, they have to like, here's what you do. You send a screenshot to Violet. You DM a screenshot to Violet, and in the screenshot it shows Finn and FD God follow each other on Instagram. That's what you show him, and then Violet in a fit of rage will get into a fight with Finn, and then they'll beat each other up, and they can't play. And that's how you beat the shock. There you go.
I would like to see London come out with some like kooky stuff, because like this is a game that I don't think anybody expects you to win. I think even taking a map off shock would be like a moral victory, like for the culture. Like, I don't care if it's Sombra, I don't care if it's Bastion, hell, give me, you somehow unlock Wrecking Ball and crash the game. I don't know what you need to do, but I'm hoping to see some wild stuff out of London to not just make this a 3-0, show some strategic depth, show some capability to approach with some creativity. And I think Christopher has the ability to summon that. So I'm looking to see what they can provide, but yeah, it's a 3-0 for sure.
Christopher versus 9K.
Yeah.
The Philly boys back at it again. Okay. You ready for the first like truly difficult
Actual game?
toss-up?
Yeah.
Not just actual game. Oh, hang on. No. Before we get there, we're going to get to the other actual game that's not an actual game. Dallas versus Houston. I forget. That's on the same day. We finished day 2, the Battle of Texas.
Yes.
Where it's going to be a 3-0 Dallas next. Anyone else?
What?
Any naysayers?
No. I mean, I have Dallas winning, but I think it's going to be a little bit closer.
No.
3-0 Dallas. 3-0 Dallas.
Okay, what's the opposite of Robin Hood?
No, not.
He's a robber baron.
Refuse to elaborate, and I exit the podcast. 3-0 Dallas.
Mic drop.
It's the perfect meta for them. It's the perfect meta for Dallas. What the fuck are Houston going to do? They don't even have a Lucio player. Perfect meta for Dallas. But either Fearless or Harbin completely diff Piggy. Like, they're not in the same universe. They're not comparable.
No,
anyone who thinks
you're
Piggy
right.
is comparable to those tanks,
No, he's not.
You don't know what you're talking about. You have no idea.
Yeah.
You don't.
I've been swayed.
Piggy is not in the same universe as Fearless or Harbin. Is Pelican good at the game? Yeah, he is. But Sparkle's the best Genji in the world. Next.
Yeah.
What else you got for me?
Yeah.
I mean, they're winning.
There's no area that Houston has a win over Dallas here. Cole, you have Lasher or Iris. Which one of them is better than Fielder?
Exactly.
None of them.
Yes. Agreed.
None of them.
Agreed.
How does Houston win a single map? In what way do they win a single map when they are deft in every single position?
Yeah, the more that I think about it, the more that I'm swayed, and I don't know how Houston gets in.
I'm very good at swaying. If there's one thing I'm good at, it's swaying.
This is the first one I've just made significant changes to my pick'ems. I was like, oh, maybe Houston has something going, and I'm like, this doesn't. Everything that I'm hearing doesn't seem like it's like a mega open meta. And the more that I look at it, the more that I'm talking through other teams, I'm like, oh yeah, we're gonna big up Lucio players, and we're gonna big up flexibility at tank. And Houston doesn't have that, so I don't know how they win any maps.
No, I have the answer. I have the answer to Yiska's question. Yiska's like, oh, what's the opposite of a Robin Hood? It's being right, and I'm correct right now. So there you go. That's the answer.
Gentrification mark right here. No, this is. I think Houston is not like Houston in my mind is like in the second tier of teams. I think they certainly have something to say.
But below Dallas, got it. Okay,
yes,
understandable.
Yeah, for sure. But like a 1 tier difference is probably like, and they're not like the chances of them. Like if I had to give you percentages of likelihood that Dallas will win here, I would go 80-85%, right?
Okay.
But the chances of a clean 3-0. Nah, I gotta give 3-1.
But okay, so like walk us through how that happens.
Robin Hood's back.
Any map.
He didn't have any coins available at his London San Francisco, but then he checked his back pocket. And actually, what he did is he went up to the little kid.
Yep.
And he checked behind the ear. I was like, oh, I found a coin behind the kid's ear. That's what he did.
Yep. I mean, this is London Chalk is like a 4-tier team jump. This is a 1-tier team jump.
Sure, but like you have to understand like what this sounds like, right? You're looking at a team, You're looking at one team who doesn't have a Lucio player, has a.
I mean, here again, very easy. They have like. Okay, you ready for this?
Uh-huh.
No.
Out of the top teams, I'm mildly concerned for Dallas because I think, in comparison to other top teams, their hit scan player is ass.
Okay.
It's just Soldier. We're not asking them to play Widowmaker. It's just Soldier.
Yeah, but it's also way overtuned, and like the differences are considerable.
By the way, Dallas played Soldier last year. It was the only hit scan
And
they
who
could
did
play.
and who played that?
Sparkle played on Soldier.
So
Okay,
is he going to like have two mice at his PC? Is that what's going on?
No, obviously.
Yes, he's gonna multi-box. He will multi-box.
Sure.
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Even if he played it, Doha's Genji is still great. And even if that's not the case, Sparkle plays the Genji, Doha plays Soldier. Doha also played Soldier last year.
He did. Like again, like okay, for argument's sake, let's give Houston Soldier for just for the devil's advocacy, right?
Who's playing the Soldier? Who is it?
Merit?
Merit?
Sure. Yeah, I would have to imagine.
Sorry, I cast this guy for his entire career. I ain't giving him Soldier.
Dude,
I ain't giving it to him.
But real quick, we can agree that in a match of Dallas versus Atlanta, Kai walks into the schoolyard, takes their lunch money, and shoves them into every single locker.
Sure.
After which they have to like have a pillow fort in their lockers because they're not getting out for that night.
Yes, agreed. However, Houston are not the Atlanta Reign. They do not have Kai. Ergo, your straw man doesn't work.
No,
so,
but
back to what I was saying.
That
yes,
DPS line
you
is
may not
still.
Be...
I feel like the second DPS on Houston is much better than the one.
I'm going to give you that. I personally, I won't speak for Aval. I will personally give you that. However, you look at Houston, you just wrote how slow they were to the meta.
Sure.
We've talked on this show about how quick Dallas are to getting into metas. From that, I feel like you can extrapolate how many qualitatively good practices each team has had. You look at like the on paper head-to-head matchups, you have one good spot for Houston, and I am forcibly giving you that. And like that one difference is going to make up the rest of the team. I don't know. I find that hard to believe, personally.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying make up. I'm saying it's enough to win a map.
Enough for a map? I don't know. I'd be impressed.
So you're saying that Merit is going to carry them so hard that Houston are going to win a map off a Soldier alone?
I think, right. Yeah. That's one of those fields where I can't really talk about too much. If I'm saying too much, I'm in big trouble.
Okay.
And I don't want to be in big trouble.
I don't see where Houston can diff Dallas at all. I think this is the season of diffing, and in this game more than in the previous game, you're gonna feel the diff more than before, like individual mechanics wise. Yeah. Even if Houston had the better Soldier, I don't think they do, but even if they did, I don't think it's enough. The other positions are way too one-sided. Yeah. Piggy is not in the same constellation as either Harbin or Fielder. Lastro and Iris, neither of them are as good as Fielder and Anna, not even close, and neither of them are Lucio players, so Chio just wins that by default.
Yep.
So, no, there's like, cool, one position at the most. And then you have Pelican versus the best Genji in the world. Okay.
Maybe.
It's not even, that's not going to be good enough either.
Yeah.
I don't see it. I can't see them winning a map. I think I figured it out. Yiska is the Robin Hood, and then what's the name of the king with all the money?
Is it King Richard? Eric?
Oh yeah, I think that's true.
Is that right? King Richard the Lionheart.
Yeah,
and more so than that, I'm also really stingy. Like I don't give any money.
Yeah,
you can't have anything from me.
You have tax.
So I'm very willing to go 3-0s. I've gone mostly 3-0s, and Yiska's gone mostly 3-1s.
I'm
But
just
I did
making
do that 1, 3, and 2. I did do that 1, 3, and 2
True.
because the coin
Fate
flip told me
decided.
so.
just saying, prepare for next week when all of this comes true and I have to bring Morgan Freeman in order to chew your ass out.
We will see. It will be
what
very
comes
interesting.
true? My predictions or your predictions come true?
Mine, like the 3-1
Okay.
after. Oh well.
I mean, we are arguing a map. To be
I
fair.
will be. I
Yeah.
will be more. I won't be disappointed myself. I'll be disappointed in the teams for losing that one. Then.
Mhm. Yep.
Because it'll be like, they shouldn't have. They really shouldn't have.
Suddenly, Dallas loses their first
If
match.
anything, it'll be Atlanta because they're trolling. According to you, it'll be Atlanta for losing a map just because they're trolling. All right. Toronto, Washington. This one's actually hard.
Yeah, this one
Depend-
I flip flopped a few times.
Depending on your
Gucci?
opinions on these teams, and
Yeah.
I know Joe's pretty low in Toronto.
Well, on both these teams, let's be honest.
So, and they're both kind of even. Like even in my own head,
Yeah.
they're both pretty evenly ranked to me, and they're both like have capabilities in certain areas and weaknesses in other areas, and I don't know. Like Toronto definitely have the better support line. That's a huge W straight away.
Yeah, 100%.
Tanks. I want to believe Mag can be better, but somehow Mag on this team hasn't worked. I don't see. Call me skeptical. I don't see it changing.
Mm.
So this sounds like heresy, but I'm willing to go for Muse Hopper over Mag, and that sounds heretical as fuck. But
Could do.
I don't know. I like Hopper. What can I do? And then DPS. I'll probably give the DPS to Washington. I think Assassin is really good on Genji. I've seen a lot of his Genji in the past. Happy is a hit scan god, so he's going to be playing the soldier. He'll be really, really good. Who cares about Decay at this point? Assassin Happy's enough for me.
Yep.
So, is that enough? Is Assassin Happy being better enough when there's Chorong Twilight on the other side? Oof. Shit. And who did Toronto have on Genji? Let's have a look.
Is it finale?
I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
It's not
He's
my
Soldier.
favorite.
Not worse. I think this is reasonable.
Mhm.
He's Soldier, finale Genji.
I think you probably still give the edge to Washington, but it's an edge, right? It's not like a completely diff.
No, I'm giving the edge to Toronto. I'm leaning Toronto.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just in the DPS lineup, to be clear.
Yeah. I probably give it. If I have to choose, I choose Happy Assassin.
Right. But like in terms of the teams, you're giving a slight edge to Toronto?
It's just that, in my opinion, Chorong Twilight are so much better than Open Krillin.
Sure.
Whereas I think Assassin Happy are better than Hisu Finale.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think they're monstrously better than them unless you are a real Hisu doubter.
Yeah.
But I do think Chorong Twilight are just monstrously better than Krillin Opener, right? And let's just say Muse Hopper versus Mag Kalios is. I'll call that one even. I don't know. That's too hard for me right now. Call it even.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Based on that, I'm leaning Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
I think it could be close. 3, 1 or 2.
Get the coin out.
Bro, this is hard. The problem with going 3-2. There's a huge difference between. I think there's a bigger difference between 3-2 and 3-1 than there is between 3-1 and 3-0. Because I think, to Yiska's credit, a team can get. I don't want to use the L word here because I don't like the word lucky in this context, but there's enough variance and room for maneuvering that a team could squeeze in a map and then still lose. For example, we've seen plenty in the previous seasons where one team will win the opening control, then lose the next 3 in a row.
You're shitty on a map
Happens. But 3-2 means the game is really close. It means we pushed it to a map 5. And usually in the case of a 3-2, it's close enough that it could actually go either way. So a 3-2, there's a huge difference between a 3-2 and a 3-1. More so than a 3-1 and 3-0. So if I go 3-2, it means I think the two teams are actually really close. Whereas 3-1 means I still expect one team to win, but I think the other team can maybe squeeze something through. So probably under that law, I have to give this one Toronto 3-1. I don't think it's close enough for me.
Okay.
I just have a lot of faith in Toronto Twilight. That's just where I'm leaning.
I think that's more than fair. I'm kind of pleasantly surprised. I thought this was going to be a spicy one for me, especially given what I've said about Toronto on our team previews. But yeah, everything considered, I agree with the evaluation of the head-to-heads. I think that, Toronto's support line is just a big diff, and everything else kind of feels a little shades of gray like. The fact that the stock exchange is coming out and saying that Washington is rotating their tanks quite often doesn't have me particularly confident. I do think their DPS line has an edge, and I do think that there's a lot of weight there in those roles. But on the opposite, side, you have Hotba, whom I have called a great bomb placer from season 1. I'm not a good bomb placer. He threw some good bombs in season 1, and that's as much as I will give him.
You're talking about Counter-Strike or something. I was like, huh?
No. I mean,
bombs.
It's not been particularly, outstanding from his metrics, let's say. But I don't think he's been like a detriment. He's just fine. So yeah, I think this is going to be a little bit closer. I suspect that Washington can probably cobble together a couple maps. I'm going to go 3-2 Toronto here. And yeah, it's probably going to be a spaghetti fest if I had to guess.
Adam and Dom, we got both of us on the payroll, huh? I see.
It feels weird to say. I had Washington very clearly, and as the weeks have progressed, I've looked more and more at this, and I have read the stock exchange. I'd be a dummy not to. And I'm not liking what I'm hearing, and I'm liking what I'm hearing from Toronto. So I'll be pleasantly surprised if they're good.
I will say, if Mag comes out on Winston and he pops off, I'm gonna look pretty dumb. But
yeah,
but then at the same time, then that means they fixed Mag.
Yes, and I mean, they're just great, but like we have not seen that for a year.
They fixed Mag. Nice.
They put him back together. But is it still the same Mag? Ship of Theseus kind of thing. You reconstruct Mag. Is it really still the same Mag? Even though you use,
you mean he has the mental fortitude of a stoic monk, but at the same time, like, sucks at the game now? That would be highly unfortunate. Oh man, no, but I feel like Mag for sure is the X factor in this, in my mind. I think this is quite a close matchup. I think this is actually a 3-2 for Toronto. I think it's also just going to be a banger match, honestly.
I hope so.
I mean, it's going to be close.
Because last year, you would never have put banger and match in the same sentence with either Toronto or Washington.
Yeah,
especially not when they played each other.
Neither of those teams infer any sort of notion of banger matches. So I'm hoping this year is different.
Yeah. This is basically like a fight between a guy that skips leg day and a guy that just does no biceps training at all. Feels like, like the Toronto bagline is just like, these guys have tree trunks for legs. But like, come on, that DPS slang, man. Like, what are you doing here?
It's not that bad.
They have no punch. They have no punch. They're like, their punch is basically my dream punches. When someone's like, being rude to your siblings, and it's like, oh, I'm going to, and then it's like, nope, I'm throwing cotton balls here.
People underrate the Toronto DPS so hard. I'm a dirty.
I couldn't believe it when I heard that on Platchet. I'm gonna keep it 100. When they told me that there was a discernible difference between the abilities that Shockwave and Hisu have displayed in the Overwatch League, I was like, nah. I'm sorry, that's not true. Like, Shockwave actually hard carried a shit team over big victories on several occasions. I don't think Hisu has ever been on a shit team. Or if he was, he has never carried anyone over the finish line. What are you basing this on? Like 2 years ago on the Philly Fusion when he had one of the most stacked rosters behind him in Overwatch history? Like, come on, man. Like, Oh, it's so hard being me because when I sit down behind me is Carpe, like massaging my back. Come on, man! This is still a fucking BQB tier player. Get out of my face.
I think he's just fine and much better than people think.
Yes.
But I'm not saying he's been in the Shockwave. I definitely didn't say that.
Yeah. No, that was a Plechek take yesterday. That I was at the beach watching the sunset and I got mad. That's
sounds like my life.
But yeah, I think
I'm at the beach, the sun started setting and I got upset.
Yeah, no, like peak happy, just also like it's just like Hisu and the Dallas Fuel DPS in the same locker, basically.
I'd rather have happy than Hisu. I'll definitely say that.
Especially in a heavy head schemata, right? Yeah.
Oh
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. So long story short, 3-2, Toronto.
Damn, Toronto across the board. I did not expect that. I will say. I thought we were gonna have some justice lover out there, but it doesn't look like it. Huh, interesting. And I do believe per the betting odds that our wonderful producer Eric has pulled, I think we are betting against the odds here, which is very interesting.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 46-54 for Toronto.
Not by a lot. Not
by a lot, but it's interesting. I think people are going to be split on this.
It is a close game. If Washington wins, it would not surprise me. If Toronto wins, well, I mean,
you called it.
I have them winning this. I called it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be upset if Washington won this because I think they have the capability to. I think their team quality is good enough to do so. You know,
would be the first time Toronto Scrimbux just fall on their face. I think what was it, 2019 stage 1? Toronto was coming in with quite a high Scrimbux rating.
I'll tell you what, for them to lose, I can see it in my mind already. So this is how the Toronto lose. Chorong and Twilight are doing their goddamn best to carry this team.
Yep.
But either one of them, Muse and Hotba, just keep feeding.
Yep.
That's how they lose. And Chorong and Twilight, like, come on, man. Like, we can only do so much. And that's how they lose. That's how I see it happening.
Yep.
Okay. Atlanta, New York. New York at this stage have had 2 days to gather their things after losing to Gladiators, probably. Atlanta are a team that it's probably as difficult as the Gladiators at this stage.
Yeah.
Even though I'd probably still have Gladiators maybe inching out. We're not doing a Glads versus Atlanta thing at the moment anyway, so don't worry about that. But
yeah, this is 3-0. Let's just say it.
I'll tell you what, King Richard the Lionheart coming back in with a 3-0. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a 3-0. This is Atlanta. I think New York's going to have to scrape themselves off the floor with this opening week. It's tough. These are some heavy hitters. Like I said, it's a tough week at the office when you have Atlanta or Glads following Atlanta. Like, that's tough. That's a 3-0. Appless.
Yeah. I actually am inclined to say 3-0 here, simply for the reason that Atlanta are exactly the type of dickbags that will also start spawn camping when they smell weakness.
I'm here for it.
So are we of the position that there's just Flora, Yaki? No, can't do it.
Not yet. No.
They are just gonna lose. They're just gonna lose.
It's just the caliber of team. You know, you look at NYXL and like, yes, it's a good roster on paper. I think they can field the meta, but then you look at Atlanta, it's like if we're not literally just playing Soldier Genji, which I'd be a little hard pressed to believe that that's all we're playing, especially like all maps, all points, like nobody like ever deviates. That's tough. I look at Atlanta, I feel like they can play this pool.
Some deviation. There's gotta be some deviation, but the sort of North Star is going to be Genji Soldier, right?
I think that's fair. And that's where it's like, okay, well, if you pair New York against like a tier lower, something like, I mean, okay, Mayhem maybe is a little spicy, but something like a Toronto, something like a Justice, a Houston, I'm more inclined to, try to be charitable. Maybe they can edge this out. Maybe it'll be closer, but you're playing two of the best teams in your region on your opening week. It's tough. It'd be good if they could get a map. Again, I'm looking at the litmus test. I'm looking to see what New York can bring to the table.
You know it's rough out there. Where not even Yiska is willing to give a map.
Yeah.
You're shaking him down.
It's not that they're bad.
You're getting in his pockets and it's empty. He's not even willing to give you a map. That's rough. That's real rough.
Mm.
You know.
Yeah. I think Atlanta is also just one of those teams that crushes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when they win, they can win pretty hard, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Atlanta went to a lot of map 5s, I feel, last season. But
yeah, that as well. But
those were versus very close competition. Okay. Boston Glads. Are we just saying that Glads probably just auto win this one? Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Kevster versus Valentine. I'd take Kevster.
Yeah.
Ryan Space versus Punkit Sol Marvel.
Yeah.
On Glads. Let's not get started on the supports. No, I don't even need to go there. So
yeah, everything's green for Glads. I could see maybe I wouldn't be surprised if Boston came out and snagged the map. I'm not gonna be that man to say that. I think this is a Glads 3-0. But I am very confused with the roster that I see and the between the lines rating I'm doing from people's power rankings. I think there's a lot of like downwards trajectory on Boston. I know that the Scrimbux Stock Exchange is a little hesitant to place a bet in with the Uprising. Yeah, I have this 3-0.
yeah, I mean, look, I'm King Richard over here. I'm looking in the vault. It's full of maps.
Mm-hmm.
I got gold lined wall to wall. I'm a stingy mofo, and you're not having any of it. I ain't giving anything away. 3-0. No maps.
Yeah, I know. This is where one of the ones where Robin Hood has to pick his battles and also says 3-0 straight up.
Oh god.
Yeah, no. This is a 3-0. I think Glads, in my mind, behind Dallas, probably the second best team in NA.
Yeah.
Maybe a top 3 team in the world this year. Against
Okay.
Boston, who are late to it. So
Here's the thing. People will say, like, oh, what about Gladiators dropping spaghetti? What about Gladiators and consistency? A fun story. Gladiators are actually super consistent versus teams they're much better than.
True.
I think it's only versus like the more closer teams to them, like some of the bogey teams like Atlanta last year, you know, the Shocks and those teams that are a little bit closer to Glads. They're the type of teams that Glads might drop spaghetti against, but versus teams that they're just like considerably better than, I think they usually just sweep that. You know, they don't fuck around during those, as far as I remember. So yeah, I'm happy to just give that one to Glads as well. In my mind, there's a lot of 3-0s. In Yiska's mind, there's a lot of 3-1s here, but in my mind, there's a lot of 3-0s so far. We move on to the final day of week 1. Oh, and we start out with a banger. This one's tough. Bread Bowl 2022 in the first week. London, Vancouver. And I actually have these two teams in position to swap places all the time. Like, I don't have it like, oh, Vancouver always beats London. Like, they're just a better team. I think they're both capable of beating each other. I don't think there's a clear hierarchy between these two teams. There's probably a team I rate slightly higher on average, but not by a lot. Not enough that I would say that one team is clearly better than the other one. And this is a really tough one. This one is like a coin flip matchup for me.
Oh,
yeah. I think the only thing that I'm like confident in is like the depth when it comes to London. Like I look at that roster, and as much as I don't think it leaps off the page, I think it's just the safer roster to pick. So I think London wins. But yeah, this is going to be a spaghetti fest. I don't think it's going to be like a good game in terms of just like quality wise, but it's going to be close. I have it 3-1 London. I'm not liking what I'm hearing from False. I think that's going to be a detriment. Whereas like I'm not huge on London's tank line, but I'll trust Poco before I trust a rookie that already has like bad scrims.
Yeah, it's the problem is the other positions I like. You know, Master is just so good. Shockwave, Aspire, both great. How much do I trust Psycho? I'm not too sure. Shit, this is hard. Because both teams have something that I'm like, yeah, I think this player is probably better than the opposing guy on the other side. But then at the same time, some of the other positions, you're right. I trust Poco more than False as well. Admiral Landon. Kenobi said good things about Landon. Seems like a reasonable pickup. Then my question is like, does Aztac ever live up to the reputation where at one point he was like probably the best flex support in Korea coming out of contenders, you know? That was a while ago now, and he never got to play on Toronto in any meaningful way, so I just don't know where he's at. Like, I just don't know about Aztac anymore. Like, I want to believe in him, but I'm not too sure. Is my faith in Master enough? I like Aspire Shockwave, but probably only one of them will play. Because we're not in a double hit scan meta currently. Unless Vancouver want to force it. Unless they want to play like Soldier Reaper or something. You know? Which is possible. Are Vancouver just going to do something weird and random? I don't know. It's hard to say. This one is like entirely a coin flip for me. It's so hard for me. I actually want to lean London. I think the Poco versus False argument is starting to sway me a little bit. And I don't know if Psycho is he considerably better than Backbone? I can't answer that for you. I don't know. And Sparker is pretty reasonable. I think Aspire Shockwave should be better than that, but Sparker is pretty good. It's just Admiral Landon versus Master Aztec or Master Sky Ripper. Man, I find this so hard to call. I almost want to coin flip this one.
Hey, I think it's a safe one.
Maybe I'll give it to London 3-2. It's a close game. I'll give it to London 3-2. Shit, it is hard.
Joe, lose your soul.
Hello.
Come on.
I already gave my prediction.
Oh yeah. Sorry, what did you say?
I said 3-1 London.
3-1.
Yeah.
Why do you hate Vancouver?
I think it's gonna be messy, but I don't like to use the way that we describe the 3-2s. I don't see Vancouver really pushing it across the line, especially when you look at like if the North Star is going to be like Genji Soldier, you have to put Psycho in, and I think that's like a detriment. I think you want. I will say I am interested to see who does play the Genji. I would assume from go ahead.
How good is Aspire's Genji? Does he play it?
That's not. I figured it was going to be maybe Shockwave.
Right? Yeah.
I think Shockwave could have it.
By the way, zero scrimbux. I'm not impacting anything. Yeah.
Shockwave of Genji?
I'm completely extrapolating off of his echo. I don't remember him playing Genji personally.
I don't remember him playing Genji.
Yeah, no.
Am I going crazy?
I know his echo stats are very high.
Does he have a secret Genji I don't know about?
Let's see if he has played in the Overwatch League, but I know he has played.
That's Shockwave. Hello, dude. Do you have Genji?
I think he's a little bit more flexible than people like maybe paint him into a corner, but I still don't know if that's enough to put him on that role over somebody who does have starting time on projectile.
I only see him play it scan. Even in his streams, he only plays it scan. From what I've seen. Obviously, we know he's played the Echo, but outside of that, I have personally only have seen him play it scan.
For sure.
So I don't know if he's got a secret Genji. Shit, he's been hiding it well.
Agreed. And that's and like I agree with AVRL. I think we can't necessarily say that somebody who could have a Genji is playing over somebody who does have a Genji. And I look at that DPS lineup of either Shockwave, Psycho, or Aspire Psycho, whatever that ends up being, is like that much better than what London's going to provide. If I'm going to be completely honest in that, I'm not huge on Psycho and I'm not huge on Backbone. So I think that kind of like evens each other out. I think the other two kind of even each other out. And then I look at the tanks. I don't think False is really going to be able to get it done. And if London, if the meta is as open as initial thoughts were, I think London has a better pool to pull from. I think maybe they'll even have a better read on their own style. When I look at Christopher, as much as I do think Flubby and Co over on the Vancouver side have some things to prove, I think dealing with Christopher and that front office is a little bit different. And yeah, I like London here. I'm very skeptical on Vancouver in this meta right now.
All right, go on, Yiska. What do you got for me?
I feel like I feel like this is very close. I still think the tank line just like drags it over the finish line for me, where I have to say 3-2 London.
That's the Poco belief coming through.
It's the Poco and Hardy belief.
Oh, you got Hardy belief too, right?
Yeah, I think that if there's actually Winston going on, if there's actually Ryan going on, that's probably pretty solid. It's also some believing in Christopher. Yeah, I don't know. I think part of me, like, it's really hard for me to come objectively in here, because so much of me just wants to say, like, okay, let's watch this once good contenders team come in on actual like competitive ping and do it. And then I have to remind myself that this was now 2 years ago. And everything that happened back then is as relevant as Jesus pop-offs. So, blank slate, I expect London to pull it off, but I wouldn't be surprised if it sways either way. Honestly, this is also a match that could just go 3-1 Vancouver. I don't like. I wouldn't be surprised by that, but I think generally speaking, it's London.
Yeah, I like the Christopher shout out. I think the London coaching line is definitely stronger for sure. That's a big win on their part, and it's not just Christopher. It's Christopher, Commander, X, Spiller, all three of them together.
Yeah,
is reasonable. So I think they'll make the difference
for sure.
Total coin flip match for me though. Very coin flip. So hard to call. Paris, Florida. Is this one coin flip? Is this one hard to call? In some ways, yeah. I
gotta be Robin Hood here.
I have faith in both teams. Just comes down to who do I have more faith in? You know?
Next one is close too, dude.
Say that again?
The next one is close too, dude.
Huh?
Well, give us your thoughts on this one first. The next one's not close. But
it's
yeah. I don't know if your order's messed up, but
yeah.
3-2 what?
To who?
London.
What? We're talking about Paris, Florida.
Oh, are we already?
Yes.
Okay, right. That's sorry, my bad.
You're good.
Jesus.
Yeah, no, this one is close. That's what I mean. I was stuck in the last discussion. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think this one's close.
Welcome to the present timeline. Go on, keep going.
I think. Yeah, I think you still have to give it to Mayhem pretty confidently. Yeah. It's a 3-1, a decisive one. I think that like recent happenings for Mayhem give me more confidence in this roster. Generally speaking, I think it's also a bigger roster. It's generally like I think it's really hard to miss that. Just like Paris is now the least resource team in the Overwatch League, and it's not close. If you think about it, they have two coaches, one coach.
J-Mac and
hang on.
Oh, Boogie.
They are not the Leaks resource team. The Leaks resource team is Chengdu Hunters.
they have an MVP caliber that they're paying the salary for. That probably amounts to
True.
about half.
Fuck. Okay, you got me. Okay, you got me.
Jamie. Oh yeah, okay. They have an assistant coach, but point stands. Like this is 6 players minimum, and 2 coaches, and like everyone else has either more players or more coaches. Even the Valiant has considerably more resources now. I think it's pretty safe.
Which is crazy.
Yeah,
That
which is
sentence
nuts.
is wild, but
Yeah.
it's true.
Yeah. London has more. They have 3 coaches. They have a player more. 2 players? 1 more player? 1 player more. Yeah, no.
Is that the difference, though? Is that the difference?
In this particular instance, no. But, like, man. Do I want to see Naga Genji? Is that...
I think you're going to have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You really don't have a choice.
I think
You don't have a choice.
He's like, I think a lot of people. I think it's probably not as bad.
No.
He's just like
I
such
think
a
people gotta
Farah
say
one trick in my head. I think the tank line of the Eternal will surprise with the general
Sure.
flexibility.
Do they surprise against the Florida Mayhem? That's the question.
Yeah, no, not against someone. No, I think that's that ship has sailed. I think this, it's a 3-1 Mayhem.
Ditto. I have this 3-1. A lot of the same reasons. I like this DPS lineup and how it's shaken out for Florida. As much as I'm hearing good things from Glister and Naga, I think that this is the meta that probably suits them as well as it can for right now. I think they're going to do fine, but I'm also pretty biased in how I look at Florida. You look at the team previews, look at, the my power rankings, look at even just my NA power rankings. I have Florida pretty juiced, and I do think this is going to be kind of a diff. I give Paris a map for sure, but I think Florida is a higher caliber team. 3-1.
Do I open the vault for Paris here?
Ooh.
Do I allow them
Are you cashing in?
a sliver of a coin for a single map? But a single map dare I give them?
Please, sir, may I have a map? Please. I do it in a French accent, but I feel like I'd offend some people.
Like an orphan boy on Christmas morning on frosted glass. He's got a little bit of soot on his face with that little Peaky Blinder hat, from that Peaky Blinders show. He's wearing one of those. He's got his empty bowl out, looking for one map in a little French town. Oh.
Scrooge McDuck AVRL.
I'm trying to find reasons to go 3-0. I'm trying to find reasons to go 3-0.
I mean, one team has more Australians.
I believe. Yeah, and for each Australian, that's one extra map they win. Man,
Fuck.
let's just see how much I think they could diff. Checkmate versus Naga, I think it goes checkmate. Glister versus Hydron, actually might go Glister.
So
Someone versus either Vistola or Dan. Pretty sure it goes someone. Then you have Animo Kareev. I'm assuming Kareev's playing. Animo Kareev versus Dredro Khan. Oh. Dredro Khan is kind of a Pogger's lineup in this roster. That's kind of a nice part of this roster, isn't it? Ooh. We finally get to the central part of the Oreo. We get to the cream. Dredro Khan.
French cuisine.
The cream. Do be the cream inside this Oreo right now.
Is it enough for a map, though?
Ah, shit. I think it is. I'll give you a map on lay-by. You got to pay it back to me, though.
All right.
I'll give it to you on loan. I'll loan you a map.
What's the interest rate on this loan of a map?
When did Paris play next?
My house.
When did Paris play next? versus they played Toronto. Okay, yeah, they'll return that map pretty quickly then. 3-1 Florida. I'm happy to give them a map.
All right.
Washington, Dallas. This is where we got confused, Yiska, because we're talking about.
You
Paris,
think this
Florida.
one's close, bro?
We're talking about Paris, Florida. And you're like, oh, the next one's close too. I'm like,
This is.
are you
Tell me.
Tell
me this is not another hit scanned into a locker argument, please.
I was like, oh, Yiska's trying to be funny. He thinks Washington, Dallas is going to be close. He's trying to be funny. I get it.
You can't bold-face tell me that the Justice and the Houston Outlaws are like similar.
Nah.
I refuse to believe that. Okay.
But Happy might shove someone in a locker on Dallas.
No, he won't. No, okay. You guys have such little faith in Doha Soldier.
Yes.
Doha Soldier is. Oh,
listen,
come on.
Even if, like, sure, you can pin me to the cross and say that I have low faith, but I still have Dallas 3-0. I have negative faith when it comes to the Justice.
Look, the reason, like, Doha is a fine and smart player, but I have questions about his mind-body connection.
Sure.
I think he
that
can
very well may be the case.
He can beautifully think about dinks.
Sure.
Doing them is harder.
Agreed. That may, again, last year Doha did not have a great season. If you're extrapolating it into this season on a hero that, whatever, it's fine. Sure, he may be diffed, but is that enough for a map? To fix Mag, to rotate in Kalios. This support line's kind of butt cheeks without Vigilante.
Actually,
it's not a map, bro.
No. And the reason it isn't is because, like, Sparkle just, like, actually, like, shoves lockers into lockers. And that's...
So I don't know. That's where I was confused. I'm like, how is this game close?
Yeah, no, it's not close. No. It's not close. It's close to giving up a map, but I don't think so.
Sure.
I'll tell you how Washington win. Tell you how they win.
Mm-hmm.
And no, it's not sending weird DMs to Violet. That only works versus Shock. This time, the way they win. Have you guys seen the movie Troy, starring? No. Why did I forget his name?
Brad
Pitt. Yeah. So you even know who stars in the movie?
Yeah, I know who's in the movie. I think I know the general like mythos of it.
Yes,
but I don't
you've seen Troy. You've seen Troy. Yes, so you've definitely seen Troy.
Yes.
It's about Germany. Come on, you've definitely seen it. All right. Anyway. You know the scene in Troy, one of the opening scenes, great scene by the way.
Yeah.
Where they're about to have a war. Achilles is late. He's waking up late. Yeah. I swear the story relates to the point I'm going to make about Overwatch and just the hot scene.
Are you about to throw your Coca-San on the bus? No, never mind.
I don't even know what you just said.
I mean, you said
anyway.
Achilles shows up late.
Anyway. So he shows up late.
Yeah.
To the war, and what's his face? Agamemnon's not happy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of having a war, they're just gonna have this battle where the champion of is it the Athenian army? I don't know anymore. And the other I don't know who the other army is. The other army with the big dude, and they have a fight. And then Brad Pitt, who plays Achilles in this movie Troy, just like destroys this guy about a foot taller in one fell swoop and just beats him. Right, and then the war ends, and they don't have a war, and then the soldiers all go home, and the war is won by Achilles alone, in a 1v1. So the way Washington win this is they say, "All right, Dallas, Happy versus Guerrilla Soldier 1v1, go! Winner takes all."
That's what I feel. That's what I'm hearing from Yiska. This feels like some sort of War of the Roses, like the 30 check of French history. I think I'm getting this right. Where like AVRL saying, you just summon a champion and you just 1v1 for the match. Like I don't think that's how Overwatch is played. Checking my calendar, and it hasn't been played that way for the last 6 years. So I don't know.
I can't say anything, so I'm just going to ask you, and we're going to unravel this.
I'm so interested.
But like, what? How do you think? Who do you think plays what on the Justice, on the DPS line?
Happy plays Soldier. SS plays Genji.
I would assume.
Are you telling me it's not that? Are you telling me it's not that?
Is Mag
I'm
playing
telling you,
Genji?
I can't tell you.
Oh my god!
I'm so interested to see what this Dallas Fuel and Justice roster like. This game has gotten interesting.
If it's anything but Happy, Soldier, Assassin, Genji, then what the fuck are Justice doing? Is it Happy, Genji, Assassin, Soldier?
Decay's coming in. He's like, listen,
Oh no!
you've seen my
go.
contract. I get playtime. If me not get playtime, me unhappy. I really don't know. I have no idea what this means.
If me no playtime, you know that guy Happy on team. I opposite of that.
Yes, me Angie. Me opposite Happy.
I'm only saying DK's mind-body connection, I have a lot more faith in.
Oh, bro. All right,
Okay,
let's finish this up.
Even if that's the case, how Washington still don't beat Dallas. Even if
No.
like
Nah. You
Even
gotta
if
have nah. Yeah, no, that's that, in that case, DK would have to have a mind connection. And and
We know how history decides with that one.
yeah, no. I mean, this is clearly Dallas is just a question by how much.
Yes. Are you giving him
so
a map?
I think 3-0.
I think 3-0.
Because you know what? I already said Dallas Houston 3-0, and I have to double down. Because if I don't say 3-0 here, it's a weird champ, because I'm like, why didn't give Houston one map? Why am I giving Washington a map? It doesn't make sense. So I have to double down. Also, Troy is 3 hours and 16 minutes long. I didn't even know that.
Damn.
It's quite a long movie.
That's very long. So are you giving him a map, Yiska?
No.
Okay.
Robin Hood
across
says
the
so.
board.
No?
Yeah.
Okay. Also, Helena Troy is played by Diane Kruger, who is German. So that's the German connection I was looking for.
Right.
Let's
When do
move
they
on.
get into the horse?
Huh?
That's the only thing I remember about that movie.
When did they get into the horse? Somewhere in the last hour of the movie, they get in the horse. Yes, okay.
Thank you.
Okay? Somewhere. That's how you beat San Francisco Shock, by the way. You get in the
Trojan
horse.
horse.
You infiltrate the team from the internals.
Yep.
And then you defeat them internally.
Oh, is that
So,
how
there you
Boston
go.
is
You
going
wanna-
to do it? Put Striker in the practice room again?
Oh, dude. So this year, how Boston beat the Shock this year is they sell or trade Striker back into San Francisco Shock. And Striker is the horse. And
Yep.
the rest of Boston pile into Striker. And then when Striker arrives in the San Francisco Shock team house, all of the rest of the Boston Uprising just pour out of Striker. You know, that's how they defeat San
Like
Francisco
a clown
Shock.
car.
Yeah, yes. In the middle of the night. And that's how they end their team war.
Lovely. Anyways.
What was the next game?
Toronto Houston is the last one
Right.
on
Oh,
Sunday.
this one could be interesting.
This one
This
could get spicy.
Because I'm a Toronto believer. Believe it or not. I'm a Toronto
Mhm.
believer. But do I believe in them enough to beat Houston?
Yeah. That's gonna be a no from me, dog.
Because here's the problem. Actually, you know what? I don't know. I don't know that it is that clear cut. Is Piggy that much better than Hot Muse?
I don't think
One
he's
thing?
that much better. No, I think it's probably a wash, if I'm gonna be honest.
Is he better? Is he even better?
Probably
You know.
not better. Probably the same.
Because I'll tell you what, I take Chorong Twilight over Iris Lastro.
100%. Every day of the
No
week.
question. No
But
question there.
I like Houston's DPS line over Toronto's. Quite a bit more.
Yeah, they do have Pelican.
Do have
And he is a monster. But is Houston's DPS line a bigger diff against Toronto's DPS line compared to Toronto's support line versus Houston? Is this another case of Yiska's weird circus fight where the dude with big legs fights the dude with big arms?
I think so, and it's a little bit less than their other matchup with Washington.
The circus fight.
I don't know. I like
The winner of that fight fights the bearded lady.
Sure. You have to give Toronto the support diff, right? Like 100% without a doubt. You see Lucio, Houston it doesn't have one. What do? I have to draw question marks there. I agree. Tank matchup is probably a wash both sides. I'm not big on either of them or all three of them put together. But if I'm coming into this game, everything has stayed the same. I think we've stayed the course when it comes to DPS, like really leading the charge. And as much as yes, I'm also pretty hesitant when it comes to not necessarily who they field. But I'm also hearing that Houston could be kind of interesting in terms of who they field. So I like what I'm seeing from Houston's DPS lineup. I think it weighs more. I'm still gun shy on Toronto, even if the stonks are high. I'm gonna say 3-1 Houston. I've been burned too many times.
Ah, God. Man, this was rough.
It's a close one.
I think
do you have a clear one?
This
With clarity?
This one hurts, dude. This one's close.
Okay.
This one is
It
like
could be.
team within a tier playing each other.
Just still bonkers to think about.
The thing is, I need to see it demonstrated in live matches. I don't trust it. That said,
See what demonstrated?
like the scrimbux from Toronto.
Oh, okay.
I think I don't know, man. I feel like that Houston team is once again like rock solid, probably. Like if you had questions, then the season of Junkbuck's head coach debut should have answered those. I think this team is probably never going to be less than average in the Overwatch League. And that's not something I can say confidently about the Toronto Defiant. I think they have a wider delta. Yeah, I think I got a good 3-2 Houston. And I think this is probably match of the week for me.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think this is
More
probably
than
the
Vancouver,
closest
London.
I think this. If I had to guess, this is going to be like a higher quality game, but also potentially equally as close.
I'm going 3-2 Toronto. I'm going to be a dirty Toronto believer.
Okay.
No.
All right. I think that's the. Is that the only one we disagree on? Like out of the opening week?
I think so.
I think so.
Did we all have Vancouver over? No, we had London over Vancouver. Did anyone have Vancouver over London?
I don't believe so.
Did anyone have?
We disagree
Paris
on
over
maps.
Florida? No.
No. No.
Did anyone have Washington over Toronto?
No.
No.
We all were Toronto.
We all Toronto?
Yep.
So this is the first and
This is the
only
only
one we
one.
disagree on.
Yep.
Out of how many games? 5, 8,
13?
9, 10, 11, 12, 13 games. Out of 13 games, we disagree on one.
I mean, we're bound to be wrong on one of them, maybe two, but
I refuse to be wrong. I refuse to be wrong.
Okay. Maybe it's some dishonesty for some teams, but
If I see any games not going the way I predict, I'm going to phone up these GMs. I'm going to tell them what's what.
Listen, stick to the script. It is interesting. I do think this is going to be match of the week. I'm happy it's the last game. Sunday looks to be quite interesting across the board with what Yiska is hinting at with, the Dallas and the Justice. Could be some locker shoving. Yeah.
Shoving.
This is going to be an interesting one. This is certainly a way to start the week. I think we start a little slow, but we end with some bangers.
Yeah, the Toronto. I'm such a believer in Toronto Twilight specifically. And I think supports are strong. Everyone's like, oh, support's weak. No, support's strong. Support's strong. Like, really. I'm not saying they're fun to play. I'm not saying they're fun to play at all. I'm just saying, like, top tier supports can really do some shit. Anna's right now in a one tank meta where there's nothing to block your bullshit. My goodness, you are doing some crazy stuff. And Twilight is like maybe the best Anna in the world currently. Still, You know,
Don't hate that
this is
idea.
why this is why I have some mad faith in Toronto. Lucio, super impactful in this meta, huge playmaker. Chorong, one of the best. Not the best. I think, Lee Jae-gon holds onto that mantle quite tightly, but Chorong is like, to me, like a mini Lee Jae-gon. So there's just so much power in that backline. Look, yeah, it might be a big leg man versus big arm man, but hey, we're doing some kicks. We're doing some flying kicks today.
Yeah.
Let me say that Houston is a good team. I've gone negative with Houston twice, but one of them versus Dallas, understandable. I still think Houston are one of the top teams. I'm just a dirty Toronto believer that thinks that Toronto, and also thanks for the money, Adam. But also, yeah, like, sure, Houston's DPS is better. But I don't think Piggy's necessarily better than Muse Hopper. The one tank situation in Houston might be a detriment, even though I don't know. That feels weird because I'm sort of giving some other teams a free pass on that, so I got to be a little bit careful. I don't give Shock too much of a free pass on that. I have Shock as a good team, like a very good team, mostly because they're strong rookies. But
Yeah.
the one tank I still have to really examine and just see if that works for me just yet.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the
I
main
agree.
support one tank situation in Houston just doesn't give me a lot of confidence, even if the DPS are nice.
100%. Like, you go back to the start of the season when Toronto started making moves and they get Twilight, they sign Chorong. I'm right there with AVRL, and I'm like, this is a team that can make some, like, they have a unique attribute that not a lot of other teams in their caliber can say, right? Like, you may like Houston supports, but are they of both Twilight and Chorong's caliber and can make plays as frequently and as successfully as that support line? No, you just can't. Nobody in that caliber of team, that like upper mid pack, like gatekeeper team, is going to hang with Toronto support line. Like, that's the fact of the matter. Done, right? If that happens, then yeah, I'm not mad at putting Toronto ahead. I just don't know that Overwatch 2 is going to be that game, but maybe I'm wrong. I could be very wrong. We will have to see.
Cool. So, final thoughts. Week 1 done. Talked about all the matches. Only disagreed on one. Does the fact that we only disagreed on one mean that it's mostly kind of clear cut the hierarchy in NA at least?
It
Probably
feels
make
like
it as well. Like, oh, sorry, I should probably. I mean, it is, but it also isn't, right? I feel like there's a lot of stuff in the middle of the table that could go either way.
Oh, for sure.
But
yeah.
Does it seem like there's a lot of games this opening week that involve one clearly stronger team and one clearly weaker team for the most part, and some of them are closer. Like the London Vancouver game, I still think is a coin flip.
Agreed.
But there's a lot of games where it's just like, oh, unlucky New York, you're going up against two of the best teams.
Yeah, there's a lot of those. I think Shock's games are both like, okay, Paris, London, those are great tuner games. It's a great like warm up. Atlanta both has some easy pickings. Dallas feels like they should just diff everybody that they play, but we'll have to see. But yeah, I'm looking at like Vancouver, Boston. That could get a little dicey, could get a little squirrely. Vancouver's like London could get squirrely. Outside of that, maybe Paris, Florida. Maybe I'm a little juiced up on Florida. Maybe Paris is the real deal. Maybe Nagas Genji isn't as like bad as we think it is. Yeah, I'd be surprised if there's too many upsets. I think we're going to be green across the board for the most part. It feels pretty cut and dry, but there again, we don't know. This is it's Overwatch 2 Eve. It's 2022 Eve. We really don't know what the tomorrow holds necessarily. I think we have a pretty good idea, but we've been wrong in the past. So, or at least I have. I won't speak forever.
Yeah. No. And if I'm ever wrong, I go in my time machine and I go back and change it.
He goes and does a Steins Gate. He hops world lines. The real ones know.
Is that is
that your first priority?
Multiversal theory. There is a multiverse where I'm always right.
It's true. You just have to hop all of them.
There's one out there. There is one out there.
If you could time travel, would that be your first concern? Just like being right in predictions?
Yeah, so here's the thing. I'm only allowed one time travel. I can do it one time. And what I do is like, I should really go back to that week 1 Overwatch League 2022 preview episode and get my predictions right. That's what I do with my one time travel.
You get a random text messages. You get a random text message prior to the show starting, and it goes, it's from a number you don't know, and it goes, don't believe in Toronto.
Number. No, it's just a list of scores. It's just a list of scores.
Okay, fine. The whole fucking thing.
Yeah. And I'm sitting there like past Avril. I'm like, fuck, why didn't you just give me lottery numbers? Fuck.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. Any final notes? Did we miss anything? Are we ready? Are we excited? We're raring to go.
I am excited. I'm interested in doing content. I'm still unsure of like what I want to do, but I do want to like dive into some of these games. I'm gonna do some VOD review on my own time, but yeah, I'm jazzed. I'm excited to get into this.
Can I throw out a teaser?
Sure.
Yeah. Actually, by the time this goes live, it might not be a teaser anymore. But in the small chance that it is, stay tuned to Tactical Crouch Twitter.
True.
For a news update for something this week. Stay tuned. And again, if you're watching this in the future, you probably already know what it is. You've already seen it, so don't worry about it. Johnny has COVID. Get well soon. Hey, what's that?
Can stay tuned anyway. Just
please.
Stay tuned, guy.
Like, subscribe, all that good shit.
Cool. And then next week we'll be here with the recap episode, and from then onwards we'll be doing recaps every week, and we can have a big laugh about where we were on this entire predictions run. Even though I know exactly how I'm going to be mad, the thing I'm going to be upset by is one of my predictions will be wrong, but it'll be wrong because teams are playing something completely different, or a team decided to do and make some weird substitution. They went full experimental and did something I didn't think they would do, and they lost because of that. Or they won because of that, and another team lost because another team went something different. I don't know. And then I'll be like, well, I couldn't see that coming, because I expect teams to experiment, but it's just hard to know who's going to do what and how good it's going to be. So,
is there something you're really like interested to see? Like one thing where you're like, oh, I'm giddy to see this.
I mean, I'm interested to see.
I have a lame one. But it's true.
Okay.
I want to see proper, man. I just want to see it. I just want to witness it.
Okay.
I want to see the arrival of what might eventually be considered the GOAT. I just want to see
it. This is like every Australian I've met that's never had Wendy's. And for me, I grew up with that because it's abundant in New Zealand. Well, no, it's not. It's just mostly in the city I grew up in. But the point is, to me, Wendy's isn't special.
Right.
It's just another fast food chain that I have. At least I used to. Come to Australia, Wendy's doesn't exist.
Huh.
So you are the person who's like, man, you know what I can't wait for? I can't wait for Wendy's. And then here's me.
Motherfucker, you're saying like I would ever get tired of a 2-star Michelin restaurant and like, oh yeah, I grew up with that.
My point is, Yiska. My point is, Yiska.
Proper hipster.
I grew up with that shit. I've seen all the proper there is to see. I've already done it. So for me, I've already lived that life. You know, I've already been there. So for me, seeing proper again would just be like me stepping into that restaurant, ordering what's their burgers again? It's been a while, guys. I haven't been there in a while. Whatever their signature burger is.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's me. Anyway, what do I want to see? God, what do I want to see? Show me Sparkle Genji. It's been long enough. We've had a full year without Sparkle Genji.
I respect it.
We haven't seen it since Paris. Sparkle in Paris, right? It's been a long time. I'm ready for it again. I'm ready for the Sparkle Genji once more.
I have great respect for this.
I'll give you one. I'll say I want to like cash in on my Glister stonks. I want to see what the scrimbux and the FTX stock exchange has on Glister stonks by the end of the week. I feel like everything's trending in the right direction. We've seen what he can do in the past. if this game is going to be high variance, and I think he's a player that can have those kind of pop off performances and kind of take over a game, I'm interested in what we see. As much as I don't think Paris is going to win any games, I want to see some Glister plays.
This would be easier if APEC was playing, by the way.
Sure. Yeah.
Looking for some zest, bro. That's my curveball.
Okay.
People finally believing, huh? Only took months of convincing, but we got there.
But that's like, yes, you were high on zest. I feel like Zest is actually the player that I'm more excited about Zest than MN3. That's my hot take.
See, we got there. At the end of the day, the AVRL propaganda always wins.
Yes.
Episode 230, guys. Week 1 previews done and dusted. We'll see you next week for 231, the Week 1 recap. Happy watching this weekend. We'll all be there. It'll be fun. See y'all soon.